begin. You're in too deep to go back again. Cash is pay to play. You want more hits than lemonade. No, you don't own me. You don't even know me. This vagabond with a two-part path to the great beyond. Say genuine, a ground floor up, I can help you find. You're a dreamer, call me when you're Bieber. And when they play it, you can't help but sing along. That's nothing odd, that's nothing wrong. 'Cause a good song never dies. It just reminds you of where you were the first time it made you cry, the first time you felt live. No, a good song never dies. Like a lover who won't back down, they pull you over to the side, look you straight into the eyes. No good song, no good song. The first time they made you cry, the first time you felt alive. No good song.
Cause a good song never dies. It just reminds you of where you were the first time it made you cry, first time you felt alive. No good song never. Cause a good song never dies. Cause a good song never dies. It just reminds you of where you were the first time it made you cry, the first time you felt alive. No, a good song never. No good song never dies.
Hello, good evening and welcome ladies and gentlemen to the season finale of season 17 of the Alpha Touring Challenge, as brought to you on the premier sim racing platform available only on PC, known as iRacing, and powered by both Syncmesh and Glass and Steel Photography and Design. Indeed, all roads lead to an ultimate conclusion, and here we are for our concluding round as what has been an absolutely incredible 17th instalment of the ATC, and we are in Australia to complete our Australian triple header, and we're at none other than the ultimate street circuit, many would argue, in the world. It is the unconventional, it is the tricky, and the absolutely brilliant Mount Panorama Circuit. More commonly referred to as Bathurst in reference to the local city of New South Wales, this is a circuit that stands above the rest when it comes to the challenge it presents. At its core, 3.86 miles of tarmac, which by day forms streets and roadways which will take commuters from work to home and vice versa, and also act as a means of travel for those looking to go further northwards in Australia. But when it comes to race day, all the houses and businesses are sealed off, and suddenly you have one of the hardest circuits in the world. It takes its name, of course, its formal name, from the mountain on which it sits, and with 23 corners making its way around this circuit, well, we do find that the majority of those corners are located on Mount Panorama. Therefore, overtaking opportunities are typically relegated to the straights, It'll take drivers to and from the mountain, and it means risk versus reward is absolutely ramped up to 11, whereby make even the smallest of mistakes over the mountain, and you'll find yourself very quickly brushing with the barriers. And those barriers will loom large all the way around the circuit. Indeed, whilst it does look as though there's a bit of space to work with, particularly with the chase chicane that you see in the background, there's very little room for error at the majority of the circuit, and those who brush with the walls, they'll find themselves very quickly into the pit lane, and their dreams of ending the season on a high, if not taking a championship crown, could suddenly be left in ruins. Alas, where are my manners? Allow me to welcome you all to this post-round broadcast from Circuit Side as you tune tonight, as if it were live, catching up with all the racing action from round 12 of this season. The racing occurred as of Monday of the 13th of July 2026. We're bringing it to you as if it were live tonight on Tuesday of the 14th of July. Therefore, we do not know what unfolds in the practice session that's coming to a close in the background, nor the upcoming qualifying session, or most critically, of course, our final race of the season. Only one race on the schedule, and goodness me, is it going to be a brilliant one to end the season? We can promise you that. In the content booth, you have myself. My name is Paul Walsh, your host and commentator for this season, and where you catch this broadcast, of course, is on YouTube, where you place and do so on a weekly basis for all the racing and the AlphaTauri Challenge for Season 17, and that is on youtube.com, and search for Porsche Productions or PWP. Now, in terms of our schedule for tonight, times in Eastern Daylight Time, EDT, or Universal Coordinate Time -4, UTC -4, and as we can see, in approximately around about 10 minutes time, we'll be making our way into our final qualifying session of the season. 10 minutes, all drivers out of the circuit looking to get together the best possible lap, over 2 laps available, set to get underway at 9:15, after which at 9:25, we head to the grid for our final race, our endurance race to seal the deal and bring home our champions. It's a 60-minute showdown here at Bathurst, and without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let's get into it, and let's give you a recap of the season as a whole and how exactly things stand and set the scene for our season finale. Because as we can see, we have made our way around the globe for this season, but the big theme has been heavy hitters of motorsport plus also street circuits. And we began the story all the way back at an ATC Classic on the 20th of April at the Detroit Grand Prix circuit of Belle Isle. Then we made our way to St. Petersburg for its debut on the AlphaTauri Challenge calendar, but we will notice there all of our opening 6 rounds, in fact 7 rounds there, residing in the United States of America. Because from St. Petersburg, we then made our way to the Miami International Autodrome, home for Formula One in the US state of Florida, and also home now to the ACC's racing. And we also saw then Barber Motorsports Park make its way onto the circuit. And as they say in Alabama, keep your family close, but keep your racing even closer. And that's what we got to see in US State. And then in round number 5, we went to Long Beach Street Circuit all the way to the West Coast for the Californian course. And then we got to see some absolutely incredible racing before making our way to the streets of Chicago for the circuit conceived on iRacing and made reality in 2023. And then we went to Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course to complete our American tour, and what an American tour it was. Then to complete the first part of the season, we made our way to United Kingdom for a brief stint, and of course the Touring Class Classic. Could we forget about it? No, we could not. It was the Thruxton Circuit on the 8th of June, and then we had our mid-season break week before returning for a brief stop in Japan as we've been making our way gradually towards Australia, and it was at the Fuji International Speedway. We got to see the home of Toyota and Lexus play host our drivers and give them a brilliant home for our special endurance race round of 75 minutes of racing. And for our final 3 rounds, we've been in Australia. First, it was Adelaide, and we're making its debut on our calendar for this season as well, alongside St. Petersburg. Adelaide did not disappoint. Then we made our way last out to the Phillip Island Circuit, the home of motorcycle racing when it comes to World Superbike and MotoGP in Australia. And what exactly did we get to see there on the 6th of July? Well, in short, we got to see some absolutely brilliant racing over our final 2 sprint races. But in particular, in qualifying, well, the big thought was, of course, was it going to be a processional pair of races, given the fact that our previous visits to the ATC to Phillip Island have been so processional. It's typically been whoever's qualified on pole has run away to take victory, or the front row has really dictated the rest of the field. And we saw the front row locked out by the Alpha Championship contenders of Michael Polasek and Wojciech Swirydowicz, where Polasek pipping Swirydowicz to pole by the best part of 400ths, and the rest of the field were 3.5 tenths behind, as headed by the Gamma pole sitter of Fleet Smith, who was joined on that second row by the Delta pole sitter Fuad Al-Ridgely, who delivered an absolute monster pole lap. And a very critical one, given the fact that he really has been chasing Tyler Long in the second half of the season. And for originally taking full from that overall grid, he was almost 4 tenths ahead of the next highest Delta driver, Jason Lynn, who started in 11th. But it was a relatively tight spread from 3rd all the way down to 22nd. 20 drives squeezed in to the best part of 1.5 seconds. Although sadly in qualifying, we did not get to see Micah Hendricks nor Zachary Leopold, with both experiencing issues with their cars in practice, which carried on into qualifying and subsequently carried on into the races themselves. Speaking Speaking of which, race number 1. Well, it's between the front row starters for the overall win, Swirydowicz versus Polasek, and it was Swirydowicz who gained the upper hand on lap number 5 and then held on for the win. Meanwhile, Fleet Smith had to dig in deep to fend off Logan McKinzie for third place overall, and Ian Bertolucci and Chris McDonald were never quite able to clear third out originally, which meant that Fleet Smith seemed set to take the Gamma win, and it was the battle for second place in Gamma that took priority when it came to Bertolucci and McDonald's aspirations. Meanwhile, third out Ritchie, he never saw another Delta in the race. He saw Gammas around him, plus some pros, and then he absolutely dug in for a brilliant victory, no doubt about it. And meanwhile, further down the order, well, we got to see some phenomenal battling for the rest of the top 15 overall between drivers including Wojciech, Cooper Akers, Matt Shepka, Dan McFarlane, Jason Lynn, Tyler Long, and Major Monstevice. And Corey Lobner had a roller coaster ride of a race, making it almost into the top 15 early on before an instant completely reset his progress, although they did well to finish 19th overall. So your winners of race number 1 at Phillip Island were Wojciech Swirydowicz overall, and whilst he may have missed out on pole position, he did not miss out on demonstrating his flair and pace over the distance, and it meant he only needed a clutch of points to become a 2-time champion in the overall Alpha Drivers' Championship. We'll come on to whether he was able to do that very shortly. In the Gamma class, it was Fleet Smith who converted that third place start to a third place finish overall, and indeed made sure not to lose out to Ferdinand Ritchie in the long term, and did very well to hold off the Delta driver, plus also Logan McKinzie. And as a Delta, well, it was a relatively straightforward race for Ferdinand originally in the end, although to be fair to him, his best ever qualifying performance was matched up with his best ever overall finish, and will absolutely dug in for his second class win of the season, and matched his best overall finish from season 11, round number 10. But then into race number 2, if race 1 wasn't exciting enough for you, race 2 absolutely turned things up to the maximum. Indeed, our drivers were rocking out more than ACDC, the metal band of course, conceived in Australia and succeeded by fellow Australian band Airborne. And did we see some drivers' aspirations go airborne in the race number 2? Whereby we saw some big incidents on the open laps, the likes of Franz Rosching and Zach Hodako, and it gave way to a 25-minute thriller where battles were absolutely rampant inside the top 10. Swirydowicz stormed through the field to take the overall win and secure his Season 17 overall Alpha Drivers' Championship title in style. You could not make it up. The man was absolutely unstoppable, albeit he was aided, of course, to a degree by the retirement of Michael Polasek due to a technical issue with the car with only 12 minutes to go. Meanwhile, Chris McDonald snuck his way through the field to finish third overall and take the Gamma win, whilst all of his rivals were all too busy fighting each other, and fall through to 12th finished only 6.2 seconds apart overall, albeit there were some very contentious moments, and there was a very frustrated Cooper Akers when he got out the car, threw the gloves down, was absolutely fuming to the point that he didn't want to talk to anybody straight after the race, given the fact the instant between himself and Ferdinand originally right towards the end on the final lap spoiled his opportunity to bring home a full place overall and what could have been a good chance at the Gamma win. So for Akers, it was frustration, no doubt about it, and in the end, well, it was not the way he wanted it to go. And for Al Ridgely, that contact saw him pick up a post-race time penalty from post-race stewarding, and suddenly it meant what looked to be a win in the Delta class and a full place overall for Al Ridgely was actually relegated down to a spot on the podium and 9th place overall instead. But of course, when we talk about your winners, it was Wojciech Swirydowicz who took the overall win, making it the perfect pair of wins at Phillip Island. In second, in the Gamma considerations, well, it was none other than Chris McDonald who started 9th overall, and then through his patience, took 3rd overall on lap number 10 and never let it go, and took that Gamma win with Cooper Akers right behind him until Akers was essentially spurned from an opportunity after that contact of Al Ridgely. And then in the Delta class, where you couldn't make it up because there were 2 penalties attributed to 2 Delta drivers after the race was complete. There was a big shout the open lap by Jason Lynn to a couple of other drivers, and that saw Jason Lynn demoted several places down the order, were post-race 20-second penalty, and it was 5 seconds added onto the race for third Al Ridgely, and saying the man who finished in third in Delta, well, after the race was all said and done, he's actually been promoted to the win. So Tyler Long taking an unexpected win at Phillip Island in race number 2 in the Delta class, and well, he'll be looking to see what he can do at today as the championship favourite, but more on that very shortly. So those are the big stories of Phillip Island, and now we come to Mount Panorama for our endurance race finale, 60 minutes, and it is a showdown on Mount Panorama on Mount Wallow, as known in the local dialect. But with regards to our circuit then, let's talk a little bit about it. It is a circuit that has to be seen to be believed, some would say. And well, we can definitely believe that when you look at this circuit map. A huge thank you as always to the Alpha Touring Challenge Administration for the brilliant cheat sheets. But what do you need to know? Let's start off then by talking about our circuit ratings. On the right hand side, tyre stress, 3 out of 5. It's a moderate amount of tyre wear here. You don't have too many harsh corners to the car. Indeed, this is really one of those circuits whereby the tyres will take a little bit of an impact from corners such as Griffin's Bend at turn number 2. Also the cut at turns 3 into 4, and also the run run through the triple left at turns 8, 9 and 10 that culminates in McPhilly Park. And also, of course, we do have Forest Elbow at turn 18, the hairpin there, which will heavily load up the front tyres, none more so than the front right tyre. But you've also got quite a few areas where you've got long straights and rather smooth corners, so the front tyres won't take as much of a bruising as they would at other circuits. However, heavy braking, you've got plenty of it here. That's why we're giving it a rating of 4 out of 5. Heavy braking into none other than what is the latter half of the lap, albeit you do have some heavy braking at the cutting at turns 3 into 4, but you've also got the heavy braking that runs throughout the mountain and culminates at Forest Elbow at turn number 18, and also the heaviest braking zone of them all, the run down the Conrod Straight from turn 18 through to the chase at turns 20 and 21, and into the turn 21-22 chicane, and the brakes will definitely be feeling bruised there, and also the downhill braking zone at Murray's Bend to complete the lap at turn 23. Overtake difficulty, well, this is a bit of a difficult one for us to rate. We've given it 2 out of 5 because whilst we did say earlier on that it's very narrow over the mountain, therefore overtaking opportunities are limited, you could say, between turns 3 through to 18. The thing is, you've got 2 so long straight that as a result, actually overtaking is highly possible. The game plan is, and the difficulty in overtaking is you need to stay behind your rival over the mountain and stay within 3 to 4 attempts. Do that, and you'll have the slipstream and the power coming out of Forest Elbow to have an opportunity, and the same at Hell Corner up towards Griffin's Bend. If you can stay close to your rival, there's no reason why you can't power your way past. So expect plenty of overtaking opportunities to appear on the straights, and for those daring enough, they may do so over the mountain. There's always a thriller there. As for off-track difficulty, 4 out of 5. There's very little space to go off-track unless it's on the straights, or alternative around the Chase Chicane and Murray's Corner. So as a result, if somebody gets it wrong over the mountain, expect there to be parts of car flying everywhere. And indeed, we don't want to see that. And indeed, all drivers have been briefed, of course, they do need to be extra cautious. We are racing at Bathurst after all, but indeed, if you go off track, typically you are going to find a wall. Now, pit entry is hard, given the fact you do have a chicane you need to negotiate, which runs parallel to Murray's Corner at turn 23. Pit exit, absolutely easy. All you need to simply do is follow the pit lane out. Indeed, you go parallel to Hell Corner and go straight out to the straight on the inside of the exit of the opening bend. A huge thank you as well to all of the graphics that have been put together there. Of course, the track maps supplied by iRacing.com. Thank you to them for their brilliant track maps as parts of the fantastic simulator. But as we can see there, our Alpha Touring administration making it absolutely easy to understand the best overtaking zone. So is being, of course, at turn number 2 at Griffin's Bend, and also through the last couple of corners, turns 21 through to 23. Expect plenty of battles there. Past instance, we've had many, and you may have seen a few of those in the intro video, particularly over the mountain in the run through turn 10 all the way through to 17. We've also had some instances in the past at Griffin's Bend, and also the cutting into Quarry Corner, and even some at the Chase Chicane. As for early traffic jams, the cutting at turns 3 and 4 in the open lap, we'll definitely see some big traffic jams. We could also see some going through Skyline into the Dipper. And should our drive stay nice and closed, Forest Elbow and the Chase, we'll see those traffic jams gradually spread out after the open lap. But indeed, there will be some early traffic jams that our drivers will need to negotiate at this 3.86 mile course. But indeed, with that, ladies and gentlemen, let's give you a quick reminder of the rules before we go racing. This is a open setup series, so drivers will get set up at their choosing to each and every race day session. Endurance race-wise, we'll see the race commence for a standing start as a tradition of touring car racing here at the Alpha Touring Challenge, and drivers must change at least one tyre during the race. Indeed, they can choose to change more than that, but they need to change at least one. It's a mandatory requirement of their pit stop. Now, each driver has one fast rear available should they need to use it. And the driver shall receive a drive-through penalty if they accumulate 15 or more instant points. Should they get to 30, they will be disqualified, but hopefully we don't see that. And all race shooting shall be conducted post-race. But with haste, we make our way back to circuit side, and let's bring you the championship standings coming into our season finale. And we start off with the overall Alpha Drivers Championship. And there you can see on 1,750 points, we have our two-time champion. It is none other than Wojciech Swirydowicz, sealing the deal at Phillip Island with those back-to-back wins. And, well, the Beaver and D's driver has finally taken that second crown with his first one coming in Season 7, but he has sealed the deal. And congratulations to Wojciech, a deserved champion, no doubt about it. And indeed, he becomes another two-time champion alongside the ranks of other drivers, and we lose the holder of a one-time champion status. We no longer have a one-time champion overall, and we'll have to wait and see in Season 18 if a new name makes the way into the Hall of Fame. Logan McKinzie then, well, he's going to be the point of interest, currently sitting there on 1,562 points, only 31 ahead of Michael Polasek, but it will be the battle between the Pennzoil Super Touring and Yellow Flag Motorsport drivers as they look to try and follow in the footsteps of our champion for Beaver and D's. Fleet Smith, he is your Gamma leader overall for B4Ds, but we'll come on to the specifics about his story in the Gamma Championship in due course, with Chris McDonald right now on course for his best ever overall finish in the championship. If he takes 5th, or alternatively takes 6th, if he does lose out to Ray 2 right at the end, either way, he will be taking his best result home, and indeed, he'll be absolutely proud of it. And Fleet Smith the same there. Both of them have really been punching above their weight this season. But behind the Croc Promotions driver, it's Beaver D's Ray to You. And then we do have Matthew Mayer, the S-G driver, sadly not racing in the last few rounds. Of course, we got to see him at Fuji bring out the Audi Gen 1 car for one last hurrah, but he will be back hopefully in season 18 as he slips to 7th. Cooper Akers in 8th there for Pensol Super Touring. And if results had gone his way last time out at Phillip Island in race number 2, well, some would say he could have been well clear of Matthew Shepka, but instead the Sia driver, or Kirby Enthusiasm Autosport driver, as that's the abbreviation of, well, he sits in 9th and has a chance to potentially steal away that 3rd place in Gamma today. Mike Almeida completes the top 10 for Yellow Flag Motorsport, owning the best part there of what is 44 points ahead of John Lauzon for Beaver and D's. And is John back today? I hear you ask from his holiday travels. The answer is no, but we hope to see John back as of season 18. Behind the Canadian, it's Major Mod Survives, the 2-0 Racing Summit driver, who's definitely have a late spurt of performances. And then we do see Francois Schink, Tyler Long and Dan McFarlane completing that top 15. Albeit, eyes on Tyler Long, in particular the Delta Championship leader and T0 Racing Ascent driver. We'll tell you a little bit more about what he needs to do in short order. Fluid Average sits in 16th place there for S-G, ahead of John Daniels. And it's Damon Mitchell, Micah Hendricks and Zachary Bowman completing that top 20. Outside the top 20, we do have in 21st place Nicholas Shvedska. Sadly, we'll not get to see the Shvedska racing driver out here for the season finale due to personal circumstances, but from what I gather down the paddock, he's absolutely loved being on the grid for season 17. It's been his debut season, and to be fair, he has put on some incredible performances, particularly in the second half of the season. And from what I gather, he's already looking for a team to join to go into season 18, and we very much look forward to welcoming him back to the grid. And definitely, he is going to be a future star of the ATC. Zach Hidalgo, well, the T0 Racer Centra, his star hasn't lost its flames just yet. He's still trying to light a fire under it and continue to burn bright as he looks to try and fight back after a difficult run of form in the second half of the season. Then we do have Ian Bertolucci, Jason Lynn and Zachary Leopold completing a top 25. Gareth McAllister is 26th ahead of Carl Trost, Corey Lobner, Mark Donnell and Evan Clavio completing top 30. And then we do have Lewis Gilbert in 31st ahead of Mitchell Richmeyer, with Crystal Ondera ahead of Kurt Smith. And then in 35th it's Augustin Fernandez. Jacob Simmons, Jeremy Barber, Austin Dunbar, Zach Saunders and Eli Sussex completed top 40. And outside that top 40, not to be forgotten about, we do have a few more drivers there, including Christian Ost, and then Colton Hopsecker, Aaron Lahr, Connor Achitella, Thomas Fancock, Spencer Clark, Tyler Langenberg, Trenton Kramer, Alexander Gonzalez Green, Nick Bader, Benjamin Andrews, and Jess Rakowski complete those with points to name. And yet score any points, Jamie DeJoux, Jonathan Lantin, Jaden Crow, who returns to the grid for the season finale after missing the majority of the season, but good to see him back for Penguin Mafia. And we do have Michael Bowman, Joshua Bibb, Angel Minnesota, Nathan Hempley, John Agudelo, and of course, let's not forget about Taylor Bookout, who completes those standings on 0 points. But as for what is the Gamma Championship, and here we can see Fleet Smith leads the way by the best part of what is 170 points for B4Ds versus Croc Promotions' Chris McDonald. Now, with drop scores applied, what it does mean is that Fleet Smith is technically your provisional champion. However, given the fact the margins are quite close at the moment, whereby if he was to pick up some significant penalties and potentially have points deductions, he could lose that champion status if Chris McDonald were to take a perfect score here today. It means that Fleet Smith right now, all he needs to do to become the second Gamma champion in the history of the AlphaTauri Challenge is just simply finish the race and score some points. That's all he's got to do, be on good behaviour. Of course, he will want to finish higher than just finish at the back of the field, but it is a very straightforward end to the season for Fleet Smith to follow in the footsteps of Ray Tube. We'll have to wait and see if he can make it happen. Chris McDonald then sits in second for Croc Promotions, are looking relatively safe from Cooper Akers of Pensol Super Touring, and the bigger fight perhaps is the fight for what will be that third place spot. Can Shepka cause an upset, or will the Sia driver say Sia to what will be his aspirations to finish inside the top 3, instead of to focus on making sure that Mike D'Almeida does not steal that fourth place away from him for YFM? And then John Lauzon sits in 6th, falling down the order, and may fall behind Major Mod Survives before the day is done for T0 Racing Summit. Then we do have Dan McFarlane for Sim Racing Grid ahead of John Daniels with the T0 Racing Summit trial, followed up by Damon Mitchell, and it's only 12 points between the pair there at the back end of the top 10. Zachary Bowman sits in 11th place, and I do believe we may not be seeing Zachary Bowman here today. We just double check in with our notes that we had from earlier, and no, it's Zach Hidalgo who will not be seen on the grid in Delta today. Indeed, we've got plenty of Zachs out there, and we will definitely be seeing, but he's been able to make it, and he has made it here. Zachary Bowman will be out there, seeing if he can get himself back into the top 10 right at the end of the season. No Nicholas Shvedska here today. He will finish on the 715 points, ahead of Ian Bertolucci for Sim Racing Grid, and then we'll see Zachary Leopold, Connor Achitella and Alexander Gonzalez Green complete those standings. Meanwhile, in the Delta class, And this is where it's a lot closer at the top. Tyler Long leads by 73 points. The T0 Racer Ascent ahead of SRG's Swirydowicz originally. Now, we haven't got all the permutations written down, but we have got our spreadsheet on standby to do the mathematical calculations as the racing goes on. But what you need to know is, it is all looking to be going the way of Tyler Long. And many of you may remember, last season, he controlled the first half of the season and lost out in the second half of the season. But this time out, it's gone the other way. And Tyler Long right now seems to be in control. All he needs to do today is finish relatively close behind Swirydowicz originally, and he will be safe in securing the Delta Crown. But could there be a last-minute upset? We'll have to see, because Alridge will be pushing for it, no doubt about it, although he'll be kicking himself, of course, for picking up that post-race penalty for race 2 at Phillip Island, which has definitely seen the gap grow to those 73 points when it could have been as small as 31. Zach Hodako sits in third for T0 Racer Ascent. And right now seems set to have to make sure he finishes in third, with Jason a little bit further behind there, the best part of 97 points behind, and the Gator Racing driver looking clear from Gareth McAllister for Yamato Motorsport, who's picked up a couple of class wins this season. And, well, a big shout out to Jason Lynn, of course, for the fact he had some of his best performances of his ATC career at Phillip Island, and well, he's definitely buoyant to those he tries to push forward. Carl Joe sits in 6th there for T0 Racing Ascent ahead of Corey Lobner. You have Mark Darnell and Evan Clavio closer together there, with Lewis Gilbert completing the top 10 for Gator Racing. Mitchell Richmeyer sits in 11th ahead of Kurt Smith, with Crystal Odera, Jerry Barber and Austin Dunbar completing the Delta top 15. And behind the Prom John Motorsport drive, Zach Saunders, Eli Sussak, Christian Oss, Colton Hop second, Aaron Law. Outside that top 20, 21st, we do have Thomas Fancock ahead of Spencer Clark, with Tyler Langenberg and a Trenton Kramer, and it's Nick Bader, Benjamin Andrews, and Jess Rakowski completing those with points to their name, and yet scoring points in Delta. Jamie DeJoux, Jonathan Lantin, and Jalen Crow, who have an opportunity to do so today. Michael Bowman, Joshua Bibb, Angel Soto, Nathan Empley, John Agadello, and Taylor Bookout. But then we come to the Teams Championship standings, and here we can see in our overall Teams Championship, Beaver and D's, they are effectively your champions already. They have secured the crown with a round to spare. Given the gap, there are no drop scores in the Teams Championships. However, given the fact the maximum possible points that can be accrued by an overall team is 402 points, well, you do the maths there. 402 added on to 3,046 for Pennzoil Super Touring, it will not be enough for them to be able to secure the crown or steal it away. So Beaver and D's, a big congratulations to them. They have, of course, taken the overall Drivers' Championship in the form of Wojciech Swirydowicz, and they have taken the crown with a round to go. And it does mean they become the first team in the best part of what is, I do believe, in 10 seasons or so, to be a new team to take a crown, in the fact it has been a dominant run or a dominant exchange between Pennzoil Super Touring and Yellow Flag Motorsports. But Beaver and D's have broken the mould, and well, they'll be absolutely proud as punch to achieve that, and we'll have to wait to see what the game plan will be in their next season. But Pennzoil Super Touring, they find themselves in second place at the moment, with Yellow Flag Motorsport a little bit further back, and Pennzoil could cause a bit of an upset here in being able to take that second place spot. YFM will not be giving up, however, you can count on that, and in full place it's Croc Promotions on 2,675 points, and they've got a comfortable gap there for SRG. And a big shout out to Croc Promotions, at one point fighting so closely for second place. They can still in theory finish in third, albeit they're going to have to really cause a major momentum swing versus Yellow Flag Motorsport. But Croc Promotions have done a phenomenal job this season, and that is a team made up of a good mixture of Gamma and Delta drivers, and well, Croc Promotions absolutely riding high. SRG sit in fifth, ahead of Kirby Enthusiasm Autosport. And then we do see T0 Racing Summit and T0 Racer Ascent only 30 points apart. And it really is that big battle right now for 6th place between SIA, the T0 teams, and B4Ds that could go any which way. Sim Racing Grid sit in 10th place, ahead of Gator Racing by the best part there of almost 300 points. And it's Yamato Motorsport, Problem Child Motorsport, and Junk in the Trunk Electronicas who completes those with points to name. And then we have Breakfast for Dinner, Penguin Matthew, and Wife and No Lifu with no points. But as for your Delta Championship in the teams category, well, here we can see leading the way, and they are now uncatchable. It's T0 Racer Ascent who sealed the deal at Phillip Island. Congratulations to them. They take the crown ahead of Gator Racing and Yamato Motorsport, who round up the top three. However, the big question mark will be, who is going to finish third? Will it be Yamato Motorsport on home soil, or will it be SRG who would look to try to demote the home heroes right at the end? The gap between the two teams there, the best part of 56 points, and we'll be interested to see which way it swings. Meanwhile, we do have their Sim Racing Grid in 5th place, trying to hold off Problem Child Motorsport, with B4D's Junk in the Trunk Electronicas and T0 Racing Summit completing those standings. Oh, goodness me, ladies and gents. Well, that was a long run through the standings, but we got there, and we indeed so much information to cover. But without further ado, it is time to make our way into qualifying here at Bathurst. And whilst the circuit is silent and a little bit sleepy right now, well, we can see the Mount Panorama Winery there. That gives you an idea of all the businesses surrounding the circuit. But our business is with touring cars. It is time to see who's going to put it on pole. It is time for the qualifying session. And so as Ray2 makes his way out of the pit lane, indeed all drivers will be pushing as quickly as they can to come out the pit. Well, what's going to be the game plan here? Based on the analysis we said earlier on with our cheat sheet, this is a circuit whereby track position is going to be valuable, and indeed you want to be towards the front of the field, the front of your respective class where possible, because overtaking is not impossible. You've got these very long straights to be able to make overtakes, but of course, if you find yourself in a situation whereby there's plenty of battling going on around you, you suddenly lose the next pack of cars. So everyone will be looking to push for pole as quickly as they can. There's no point trying to settle for second best here at Bathurst, albeit, of course, the fact you've got to be driving on the absolute limit in order to be able to go for pole position, that's also going to be a challenge in its own right. So therefore, we're going to see some of the best laps out there. And indeed, if any of you are huge touring car fans, and particularly fond of the Super Touring era, some of you may remember the legendary lap set by none other than what is a Volvo Hall of Famer from the BTCC era. Not just a BTCC racer, well, touring car racer as well, Rickard Rydell. If you have not looked up his absolutely incredible lap around Bathurst in the Volvo Super Touring machine, definitely go check it out. Not in the estate car, it was in the saloon that followed it. It is one of the best laps you will ever see, I promise you that, in a touring car. Now, of course, the best laps in the world, many would say, that is the infamous forgotten lap, or the unrecorded lap of Ayrton Senna at the Monaco Grand Prix circuit in the year of 1990, when the cameras were fixated on another driver and missing arguably the lap of legend. Well, I would say Rickard Rydell's lap around here at Bathurst is a very close claimant to a legendary lap versus Ayrton Senna's Formula 1 lap. And of course, it already is better because it's a touring car lap. Let's put Formula 1 out the window, of course. No disrespect to the Open Wheel Racing Series, the premier of open wheel racing, but we love front engine, front wheel drive and our TCR machines. As the drivers make the way through, we look to Matt Shepker, and he comes down the common straight for Sia in his Audi RS3 LMS Gen 2 car, and this Audi definitely has been huge. It will be a sad day today, of course, because we will be saying goodbye after this round to the Gen 1 car. It will no longer be eligible to go race as part of the AlphaTauri Challenge. We have to move on from the Gen 1 car at some point, and the Gen 2 will become the mainstay of the 4 rings of Audi, and we'll have to wait and see how exactly the Audi does go, and see if we get any new TCRs coming in the remaining updates for this year, and we'll be giving you an update on when you could expect us to come back for the racing for season 18 at the end of today's broadcast. But as Shepka makes his way onto his first flying lap, of course, all our drivers right now will try to get as much heat in their tyres, and we're going for a banker lap, and we will get on board for one of our drivers' second flying laps. But welcoming himself back to the grid, and we will openly welcome him with warm arms, it's Jalen Kuo. Now, he is on a qualified lap here, and I don't know if he's aware of this. Perhaps he's forgotten, given the fact we did see him on the grid all the way back in round number 1, in a little bit of a bruised and bumpy round number 1, it should be added. And I wonder if the administrators as well have remembered this, but he is technically expected to serve a qualifying ban. He was given that after round number 1, but something tells me that given the fact he has missed rounds 2 through to 11, at least in the notes I've got here, I could be wrong, to be fair, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not 100% accurate, as that always went wrong there for Kuo. Well, he is meant to have a qualifying ban, but I think he's allowed to qualify here. It is the season finale, and well, given the fact, and of course, he's missed a few rounds, it's not going to have a huge impact on his championship aspirations. But the most important thing is we are very happy to see our 00 drive back out there. It's great to see Jalen giving it a go. Well, we have missed him, no doubt about it. But I just found it a little bit intriguing, of course, that he has had a penalty lingering over him for the best part of the whole season. And, well, he's out there right now. But can you blame him for it? We can't, ladies and gentlemen. Good to see him out there. And, well, as he makes his way down the hill, well, meanwhile, we look to Jeremy Barber as he makes his way through. One of the home heroes for Bathurst Motorsport here today in Australia, and well, definitely talking there about the fact that people matter. That's what the team's name is all about. Indeed, if you're ever feeling as though you're driven to the ultimate thing that nobody wants to go to, which is suicide, big promoters of mental health awareness and also ensuring there's a lifeline out there for those who are desperately in need, well, You Matter Motorsport really embodying that. You can see the numbers on the car and indeed the contact numbers there, and well, huge advocates for mental health and good well-being. But he makes his way down right now. Some would say that tackling Bathurst at full pace can be a little bit tantamount to dangerous, but right now the Deathly Hallows do not call for Jeremy Barber. Instead, he's full of life and vitality. But speaking of life and vitality, well, the only way that we can welcome in our two-time champion as of this round is to ride on board with him for a flying lap. Take it away, Wojciech Swirydowicz, and show us what you can do. He's making his way down towards turn number 1, and as he does so, will the Beaver and D's driver here attacking that opening corner into Hell's Corner, and then break at the 50-metre board down to second gear, and now stamps the throttle with his Honda Civic Type R FK8 and rolls his way onwards. Hell Corner, of course, the lore behind the corner name, coming from the fact in the early days of motorcycle racing, if you went wide, you'd crash into the tree on the outside of the corner that's still there to this day, and will you be sent to the circles of hell. That's the folklore. But as he makes his way towards Griffin's Bend, looks to his left-hand side for this uphill braking zone, braking at about 60 metres from the corner, coming all the way down to third gear, and as soon as he feels the camber of the road and left-hand side's grip up, gets back on the throttle there, running as wide as possible to the barrier. Now into the cut he goes through turn number 3, lift off the throttle slightly, and onto the brake for turn number 4, coming all the way down to second gear, so close to inside wall you brush it. And now coming through Quarry Corner, turn number 5, it's turn 6 and 7, this is the hard part, as he makes his way through the blind right-hander of 6, and then straightens out the steering wheel to run as close as possible to the wall of 7, and now in towards the triple left, turn 8, now it's a lift and coast through turn number 9, don't touch the brakes whatsoever, and now get back on the throttle, stabilise the car, and into Phillip Park. They dab the brakes as he comes over the rise, holding 5th gear, back on the throttle immediately. Swirydowicz using all the grip, and now coming down over Skyline into the dipper. He descends, trail braking his way down from 5th to 4th to 3rd. Will he drop to 2nd here into the left-hand kick? He does, and as he throws the car through the corner, now absolutely on limit, full throttle as he comes into Forest Elbow. You can't see Forest Elbow, and then you can as you brake for the corner downhill and literally have to hold the brake as he gets it to the wall. Hold 2nd gear, now full throttle as he makes his way down Conrod. And at this point, well, it's all about just keeping your foot pinned to the floor here. You've got to have it as if it's a block of iron as he makes his way onwards and will up to top gear. And well, the weakest part of the Honda is its straight line speed compared to the other cars, or the rated to the same top end speed, but it's how they get there. The Honda the sliced in high gear acceleration. But out of Conrod into the chase, then through the kink of 20. And looking to his right side, we break at about 120 metres from corner apex all the way down to 3rd gear as he makes way down there. Takes a lot of curb, just marshals the car out onto the grass of the curb in a turn 22. That may have spoiled the lap there for Swirydowicz, and it does, unfortunately. We're not going to see him clear Murray's corner, but pushing so hard, and in the end, just losing out right at the end. But Michael Polasek right now, well, he sits the benchmark at 2:12.471. And that subsequent lap, but it was his 2:12.192, his best lap out there. So Polasek getting it done on the first lap, it seemed today. Swirydowicz only a 10th behind. And will Ray to you, currently 3rd fastest, a further, what is 3.5 tenths adrift. Logan McKinzie coming down. David Mitchell, meanwhile, very impressive 5th place overall. And second in Gamma, Matt Shepka, meanwhile, is the fastest Gamma out there. Third out originally, meanwhile, is the fastest Delta, who's just been dropped to 10th place by the promotion of Mike Delmeda to 9th. Well, Chris McDonald on his second and final flying lap as he heads on around. Corey Lobner, well, right now he's on a cool-down lap. He's already used up his 2 laps as Tyler Long gets a lap on the board. His last lap he can take in qualified, and the 2-0 Racer Ascent driver ascends to 2nd place in Delta, a 2:14.187. He'll be happy with that. It gets him quite close to 3rd originally. Averaging only 2 tenths faster. That's not a huge amount of time that you'll need to try and find over the race. Indeed, if you're in 2 tenths another driver here at Bathurst, you've done very well. As I thought Major Montevice was going to brush the exit barriers, give himself a bit of an introduction to Vulcan as a new sponsor, but instead decided just to avoid the barrier there, and well, by millimetres he's avoided it. But as he heads on down Conrod, what about Fleet Smith? Well, our Gamma provisional champion almost, presumably he does get the points here today. Well, right now, he's not got a lap on the board. He might be starting from the very back of the field. This is his final lap. He has got purple, however, in the opening sector. So the first corner he's delivered brilliantly. And he goes 4th as Fleet Smith. A 2:12.693. And suddenly for Matt Shepka, I could hear a cry in the pit lane there because the team were hoping to see him take that pole position. But Fleet Smith says, nope, you're going to have to park your dreams aside. The Bumblebee machine has stolen them away. And Fleet Smith right now, with that, he's definitely going to be very happy. As meanwhile, Corey Lobner makes his way onwards, albeit still cooling down. Chris McDonald off camera holds on to 9th. Meanwhile, Major Montevice only goes 10th. Here comes Chris McDonald to the time in line, coming down in towards Murray's Bend. As he makes way to that left-hander in his Audi. Well, what's it going to be here as he rolls off through the corner for Croc Promotions? Is he going to be able to make himself a little bit further up the order? And the answer will be, it's a 2:13.442. He does improve, but it's not enough to go any further. So he stays where he is. And, well, we've still got a couple more laps to go. We've got another Croc Promotions car out there, Micah Hendricks. How could we forget about good old Micah? As he makes his way on down Conrod in the number 73. This Audi, of course, known to be a bit of a straight line machine. as he heads off. A lovely looking car, to be fair. Always a bit of a soft spot there for what is the Audi RS3. An interesting car as well, because it does come in hatchback form, and it also comes in what is pseudo liftback hatchback form, if you will, depending on which you prefer. And this is the pseudo liftback, if you will, whereby it is a hatchback, but essentially you have got the saloon body shape compared to, say, the more typical hatchback that you will see in the form of our Hondas or our Velosters, as an example. But as he makes way to the line for Hendricks, a 2:12.915, just squeezes his way ahead of McKinzie there, and that is by a tenth, if that. So a good effort from Hendricks, but that will be qualifying, ladies and gentlemen. And well, it is going to be Michael Polasek who takes pole position for the season finale race, and he'll be joined on that front row by Wojciech Swirydowicz, with Fleet Smith fourth there, Gamma pole sitter, and third Reggie, Delta pole sitter in 13th. But qualifying is just one lap. Who is going to be able to take victory after several laps here at Bathurst? It's time to find out as the drivers make their way onto the grid. And as they do, well, this is how they'll all line up for the final time this season for 60 minutes of racing here in New South Wales at Bathurst. And it is Michael Polasek who takes pole position for Yellow Flag Motorsport. He'll be joined on the front row of the grid by his fellow Alpha and now two-time champion Wojciech Swirydowicz for Beaver and D's. Ray Tew starts third for Beaver and D's, and just behind his teammate, how far can he go? With Fleet Smith there, your Gamma pole sitter for B4Ds, the Bumblebee machine there chasing after the Beavers, and right now on that Gamma pole position, and Worthy finishes where he starts. It'll be far more than enough he needs to become the second ever Gamma champion. Michael Hendricks starts in fifth for Croc Promotions ahead of Logan McKinzie for Pennzoil Super Touring. The terms separated by a tenth, but both at the best part of 2 tenths away from the top four. But conversely, 2 tenths quicker than Matt Shepka for Sia, who starts in 7th, and Damon Mitchell starting 8th there for Croc Promotions. I get the feeling we're going to see a very quick race here from Damon Mitchell today in the number 27. That's one of his best qualifying laps of the season. He in turn was a 10th ahead of Chris McDonald for Croc Promotions, and Major Mod Device for T0 Racing Summit completes that top 10, filled with Gammas on the final 2 rows of it. Then in 11th, we're going to have Friends Washing. The senior driver head of Yellow Flag Motorsports, Mike De Almeida, with the Canadians being followed up by the Americans, a third Reggie, Delta pole sitter, and we started off strong, but the problem he's got is that directly behind him in 15th place is Tyler Long, the man who only needs to finish close behind Ridgely if he wants to become the Delta champion. But between the two of them, from SRG, it's to Pennzoil Super Touring's Cooper Akers looking for redemption, and joined on the 7th row by the man who definitely, I think he has a bit between the teeth with after what happened at Phillip Island, but I'm sure they've called and calmed things on down. But still, from Akers, it'll then be a further attempt to Tyler Long for T0 Racer Ascent, and he'll have the company of Corey Lobner, who takes a season best qualifying performance there, starting in 16th place. Well done to Corey for that. That's a very impressive qualifying lap. Zachary Leopold starts in 17th for Pennzoil Super Touring ahead of Carl Trost for T0 Racer Ascent. Now, is this going to be a happy end to the season or a difficult end to the one for him? We'll have to wait and see. Zachary Bowman starts in 19th there for Yellow Flag Motorsport, and we will have Jason in for Gator Racing, who completes your top 20. Outside that top 20, starting in none other than 21st place, it will be Evan Clavio there. A Sim Racing Grid ahead of John Daniels for T0 Racing Summit. Keep your eyes out for Daniels. He will try to come through the field gradually. And then we'll see Mark Darnell 23rd for Gator Racing ahead of Penguin Mafia's Jalen Crow, who returns to the grid. Great to see him back on the grid for Penguin Mafia. And then Jeremy Barber completes our 25 starting order. Nobody having issues with their cars on this grid. And indeed, 25 cars have made it here. And Jeremy Barber, the last one for you, Matter Motorsport. And he definitely matters, just like all 24 of our other drivers. But ladies and gentlemen, the grid is set. It is time to go racing for the final time this season. The revs rise, and without further ado, it's time to get our season finale at Bathurst underway. It's 5 red lights, and it's lights and away we go for this season finale as Michael Polasek gets a good start, and as they roar the way in towards turn number 1, we see the Wojciech Swirydowicz just tucking it in behind. Further back, Logan McKinzie already finds himself in a bit of a 2-wide fight with Matthew Shepka. Can he take the place back off of Shepka? Yes, he can. Shepka had the better launch, but McKinzie had the better commitment in the Honda, and as they make the way out the rise, somebody flashing their lights now. I think that was Major Mod Device, not too happy about something that's played out, but they all roar the way up towards turn number 2, and all the field safely away. Damon Mitchell already up into 2nd place here in Gamma, fighting side by side with Shepka. He's on the outside, Shepka on the inside, the battle of the 2 Audis. Here comes Griffin's bed, and Mitchell, has he got the confidence in the car to scoop it around the outside? He's going to go for it here for Croc Promotions, but they give each other the racing room, and will somebody go to back out here as they get ready for the cutting? Who's going to back out? Shepka's refusing to do so. Mitchell on the inside, it will be Mitchell's to take, so David Mitchell up into 7th place there, and up into 2nd in Gamma, behind them Francois Sheik. He's on the back of this Gamma Rat Pack right now, trying to hold on to 11th place versus Mike Almeida. And in terms of other changes, John Daniels already making some progress, passing Evan Clavio at the start, and Jalen Quir's found his way past Mark Darnell. So further down the order, we have seen some impressive starts from drivers, just as much as we had at the front, although sadly for Corey Lobner, it's all gone a bit backwards. He's dropped 3 places overall and 1 in Delta, dropping down to 19th overall and 4th in class, behind Carl Trost and Zach Bowman, but he's going to go for a move here to Phillip Park. Bowman grazed the wall coming out turn number 9, and Lobner said, I'm going to go for it, and then it hasn't quite worked out, but brave stuff there from Corey Lobner, and he's definitely feeling as though he's got a great chance here today to score some huge points. Well, he's going to have to get a little bit braver than that, or wait for the tyres to come in and hope they can get Zachary Bowman to make another error. And to be fair, if Bowman does make an error, it would not be a surprise. Indeed, putting that pressure on, as that's giving a mistake there, and into the barrier. That's Evan Clavio losing it, coming to Forest Elbow in the kink of 17. The rear of the car has lifted up and gone sideways. We'll get a replay of that shortly. But meanwhile, as we come back to what is your Delta front runners, well, here's Carl Trost and Tyler Long side by side. And in fact, as they make their way onwards, it's not side by side, because that is Zachary Bowman side by side with Tyler Long. And well, in the end, Carl Trost has got through. I wonder if Long's had a bit of a poor run through Forest Elbow, and that's what's caused the swap. As we can see there, Corey Lobner and trying to hold off Jason Lynn, but Lynn's going around the outside of him through the chase chicane. Now to the inside here, lovely move there for Jason Lynn, and Lobner right now just being beaten on acceleration there. John Daniels meanwhile trying to go around the outside. He's trying to go for a 2-for-1 special here. Well, as he comes into the braking zone, will he be able to get it done? And the answer is going to be yes. It's a lovely move there from John Daniels, and that's the stuff that we know the number 2 driver for. Moves up into 19th place, but we can't celebrate him for too much longer, because here's Zach Bowman having to defend versus Trost, who's gone on the attack here, and Trost right now absolutely eager. But to be fair, I think the reason why Ty Long won't be too upset about this battle is because where he is right now, he will very comfortably still become your Delta champion. Indeed, he doesn't need to finish directly behind Fred originally. He just needs to finish close behind. And right now, this will be all he needs as he and Trost back-to-back fighting again. And we're going on to lap number 2. Evan Clavio in the pit lane after his big knock to the barrier at Forest Elbow. The car will be repaired and he'll be back on his way as soon as he possibly can. And not the way he's waiting to go whatsoever. Let's wait and see what he can do. Jalen Kuo battling side by side with Corey Lobner. And going in the Audi here, and well, getting clear. Mark Darnell going around the outside. Lobner, and he's going to lose the rear, almost his Elantra. And then in the Hyundai driver, just about keeping it together there. That was more sideways than straight. I get the feeling he's been watching a little bit too much of initial D there with the way the car was going sideways, albeit drifting not as popular in Australia as it is in Japan. But at the same time as well, Mark Darnell definitely showing the D in his surname is not just for Darnell, it's also for Drifter, because he absolutely drifted his way through the corner and gets it together just about. Corey Lobner going on the attack versus Jeremy Barber behind, albeit that's not going to work out. The most Lobner is a bit more focused on the Gator racing car directly in front of him. But meanwhile, we come back to the front of the field, and as they make their way out Forest Elbow this time, Michael Polasek definitely getting the hammer down. Remember, for Polasek, the championship win is not possible. What is possible, however, is stealing away second place from Logan McKinzie. And right now, the Pennzoil Super Touring driver a bit further back in 6th at the moment, following Micah Hendricks along. But to be fair, it is a long race. 60 minutes at Bathurst can feel very long compared to any other circuit. And this is one of those races whereby the smallest of mistakes, the smallest lapse of concentration, and suddenly you could find a race that's going very smoothly and swimmingly going into the barrier, and it's all out of commission. But as Damon Mitchell right now won't be thinking about the barriers, he'll be thinking about making himself the biggest possible barrier to promotion for Matt Shepka, plus also Major Modsvice and Chris McDonald, who all queue up behind him right now. But to be fair for Damon, we know he can make an Audi very wide when he needs to, and he's very good at that for crop promotions. We've seen some brilliant defensive driving from him over the course of this season, and Shepka right now knows he's got his work cut out for him as they make their way across the timeline. We continue to look back for the rear of Mitchell's car, and as he comes through turn number 1, bringing a whole pack of Gamma drivers with him, and then you've got Franz Washing and Mike Almeida and Delta leader Ferdinand Ridgely. Indeed, it is a growing train. Cooper Akers also on the back of this, but here comes Shepka. Better run off the corner, and well, trying to look, but in the end, Mitchell gradually coming across there. Right now, Shepka, he wants to go outside or inside. He can't decide. Mitchell puts himself back in the middle of the road, and well, in the end, both drivers racing absolutely fairly on the limit. And we're coming out of turn number 2 here right now. I think Shepka, as much as he wants to make a move, I think he realised that he's got to be very decisive where he makes this move happen, because otherwise David Mitchell will return the favour shortly after. Now we do have Jalen Kuo into the pit lane. We believe there's been a bit of difficulty for Jalen Kuo. I'm not quite sure what's happened, but unfortunately he has had to come into the pits quite early on in this race, and potentially it might be a black flag penalty. We'll get an update on that when we can, ladies and gentlemen. That's something that's gone a little bit wrong for Jalen Kuo, but to be fair, he is back out there and carrying on his journey. But as we do see Shepka there graze the wall, Monsivai speaks about trying to get involved, but then realises it's a bit too close for comfort as he runs wide himself. And well, we do have a black flag for what is Jalen Kuo. It was awarded on lap number 2. We're not quite sure why he's been awarded it. The only thing we can think of of is potentially for instant points, but they'd be very early to get that many. But that's why he has had to come into the pit lane and essentially take what's been a drive-through penalty. So Kuo has dropped down the order by taking a drive-through. Now things got a bit wrong for him. In fact, no, he came to a stop in the pit lane. May have been a stop and go, but either way, it's definitely gone wrong for Kuo. As meanwhile, things are definitely getting very interesting here in the battle for the back end of the top 10. As they make their way down the Conrod Straight once more, everyone right now definitely settled into this race. That's what we absolutely love to see. Jeremy Barber a bit further back, still chasing after Lobner and Darnell. They're fighting over 5th place in Delta right now, always 21st overall. And we'll have to wait and see which way it goes. But you can definitely see there the Honda not as quick initially on the straight, has to pick up a lot of speed in the draft there of the Audi and Lantra in front of him. 3 different cars, all showing their 3 unique strengths and weaknesses, and that's what we love to see about TCR. Every car on the balance performance, as set by iRacing. Not by us here at the ATC, we follow the iRacing regulations. Well, all of these cars have got the unique strengths. The Honda, of course, the cornering and braking car. Meanwhile, the Audi and the Elantra, a little bit more focused towards straights. The Elantra, a bit of a jack of all trades, albeit does have very poor tyre temperature management. It has a weakness over the front end. And meanwhile, the Audi, a little bit of a speed demon acceleration, but also quite sensitive to curves and low-speed corners, given the way its gearbox is formatted. But meanwhile, as Michael Polasek leads the field onto lap number 4, Wojciech Swirydowicz still with him there, 3 tenths behind. And is this going to be Phillip Island all over again? Which is, Polasek holds on to lead for the first few laps, and then Swirydowicz suddenly turns the wick up to 11 and goes on the attack. It seems to be that way at the moment. As they make the way out of the cutting, we ride on board here with your second place man. And now champion for this season, albeit of course will be formally announced. He's your champion-elect is the correct term. And right now your champion-elect here knows he doesn't need to win today, but he definitely wants to put the pressure onto Polasek. And well, the best way to end a season you've already won is to end it on a win, and that's all part of the game plan. You can see they're having to turn a bit earlier into Phillip Park compared to the race leader, given the dirty air, offsetting the understeer that's invoked. These cars not the most aerodynamic compared to GT racing machinery, but to be fair, they have their own aero packages and also those big spoilers on the rear, and you want every little bit of front-end grip that you can find. And for Swirydowicz, well, a little bit of an earlier turn in there enables him to offset any dirty air as he now makes his way down through Forest Hill, but they get so close to those walls. I mean, it is terrifying. And just riding on board, and well, you definitely prove yourself as a driver if you're able to survive an entire race at Bathurst, whether it's 24 hours, 12 hours, alternatively, in this case, a single hour as they head down Conrod. And Ray2, meanwhile, being very gradually dropped by leaders, not by much a lap. It's only a couple of attempts, but he is seeing that gap expand outwards. And he's hoping that Swirydowicz and Polasek will battle each other. But until then, Fleet Smith, Gamma leader, watches on from behind there with Micah Hendricks and Logan McKinzie, definitely inching closer and closer, little by little. But of course, this race definitely standing a bit stationary at the moment for drivers. I think the game plan is to focus more on strategy at this point and consistency. We're only expecting the 1 pit stop as per our typical, well, in fact, we might be expecting 2 pit stops here. I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm thinking more of the 45-minute endurance races. We are typically expecting this to be a 2-stop race as per some of our other 60-minute races this season. But it'll be interesting to see how drivers cut the pit stops up, because of course at Long Beach we did see that mixture of strategies where some drivers decided to go for what was a long, short strategy, and that worked out very nicely for them, whereas some others went for the short, long in terms of the stint length. And well, that gamble didn't necessarily work out. And street circuits, of course, once you're committed to a strategy, you are locked into it. There's very little ability to flex it, particularly if you come out into traffic. But meanwhile, Chris McDonald invited here with Major on device. A bit of a change coming forth, perhaps, as McDonald right now trying to get clear. On the inside he goes, and Montevice has no response there. And Chris McDonald will take that place off him, moving up to 4th in Gamma and 9th overall. Franz watching a little further behind it, still watching on eagerly. Off camera, we have had John Daniels make a move on Jason Lynn for 19th place. Here is the confirmation that move has been made. That happening from turn 1 up towards turn number 2. And well, that completes their first 10 minutes of this race here. And John Daniels still trying to make some headway here. He's got some haste and hay. And right now, how far can he go in this final race of the season today? As he tries to push a bit further forward, we take a look back at some of the big moments in the start of this race, as we do take a little bit of a trip back in time, ladies and gentlemen, and it is back to the start. And so, how did it all begin, I hear you ask? Well, we looked to the front of the field, and well, for Michael Polasek, as the lights went out and we went green flag racing, well, absolutely perfect start there from Polasek, nailed it, and as he made his way in towards turn number 1, you can see Ray2 in the end made sure to cover off Fleet Smith, to cover off his teammate Swirydowicz as well, and as all the field made their way into opening quarters, definitely a bit of an eager move there from what was Swirydowicz originally to try and steal the place of a Mighty Almeida, but could not quite get it done, being on that inside line. You don't want to be on the inside going to Hell Corner, you want to be on the outside. That's where you get the better run of the corner by comparison. But all the field was safely away, and Damon Mitchell going for the daring move around the outside of Matt Shepka. immediately, and what a move this was. He found his way past in the end, and well, Shep could defend it as hard as possible, but it was only one driver who's going to come out on top, and he got the inside of turns 3 and 4, and David Mitchell did not want to back out, and indeed getting it done there in towards the first part of the cut-in, as Shepka had to watch on from behind. John Daniels as well, he was very eager to make some progress. He couldn't quite make that work out in the end, and will have to stay behind Jason Lim. But unfortunately, towards the end of lap 1, we had this for Evan Clavio. Things went a bit wrong as he made his way in towards Forest Elbow, and as he came into that braking zone, the rear of the car let him go there under braking, and well, into the barrier, and that was cold tyres. Unfortunately, the car spinning around and going into the bigger tyre stack there, going into the corner itself, and definitely hurting the rear axle. And this is what it looked like on board from Evan Clavio for Sim Racing Grid. Under braking he went, and you can see there, going a little bit deeper into the corner due to the dirt here in front, plus cold tyres. The car goes spin to the barrier, and then a big whack to the rear of the car, and that's what forced him into the pit lane. But meanwhile, we also did have this for Jalen Coe on lap number 2, making some progress of his own, attacking Corey Lobner here in towards Griffin's Bend. And well, in the end, I think Lobner's going to go a bit deep. He does indeed, and that opens up the doorway for Kuo, and also for none other than Mark Darnell to try and squeeze his way around the outside. And in the end, Darnell had to be brave to do it. And this is where we saw Darnell, of course, literally missed the wall by a hair's width. What did that look like on board from Darnell's perspective? Well, we can show you, ladies and gentlemen. Here we go. Well, you see, Kuo opens the door up with Lobner going so wide. And Darnell says, OK, here I go. But at this point, of course, now he's committed to an outside line. And he wasn't going to back out of this. Well, turns into the corner. And it literally just misses the wall there. You could hear the tyre screeching, and Mark Darnell getting the job done. But a brave way of doing it, no doubt about it. And then we did have this back and forth between Jason Lynn and John Daniels on lap number 5 only months ago. And this was the pair making the way out of turn number 23, coming out of Murray's and in towards Helves Corner. And whereas Lynn on the inside, and well, we briefly lost him, and he came back from the ether, went all in there. John Daniels having to really work his way around the outside. But to be fair, Lynn made sure to give him some space, and after that they had this absolutely brilliant battle as they ran their way all the way towards Griffin's Bend. In the end, we didn't quite get to see the Audi outpower the Honda. If anything, it was the Honda gradually outpowering the Audi. Well, I'll be. But that's because John Daniels, of course, did have the outside line, and therefore he's able to get the better traction off the corner compared to Lynn, who had to take the inside line to make his way towards Griffin's Bend. So great battle in between them as we now make our way back to your live racing. And as we do come back, well, we're into pit stop season, it would seem, as that is a pit stop there for John Daniels, albeit I think Daniels had something go very wrong. We've also lost Corey Lobner from this race. Unfortunately, we won't be able to get a replay of what's happened between the pair of them, but things have gone very wrong, so I don't think those are pit stops that have been made intentionally. I think they've had to come in together, or both drivers have made separate incidents of themselves, but either way, it's gone wrong. But meanwhile, we come back at perfect time, as our top 3 now are grouped back together once again. Off camera as well, we have seen Fleet Swift be passed by Micah Hendricks for 4th place. There's the proof in the pudding, with Smith now following and Logan McKinzie there. So those are the 2 big items that we have missed whilst we're looking at the replay footage. And well, maybe for season 18, ladies and gentlemen, we'll tell you a little bit more about what's happening for the broadcast of season 18 later on. Let's just say, maybe the situation whereby we don't lose as much footage anymore when we do cut to replays. But more on that a little bit later. And as David Mitchell holds off Matt Shepka and Chris McDonald. All right, now still holding on to that 2nd place in Gamma. Shepka following close. Chris McDonald, meanwhile, slipping away little by little. Not the way he wants it to go. With Major Mod's device there. Now matching him with lots to pass him for pace. So we could have a battle for 9th place gradually building. But things are definitely not going in the right direction if you're a Chris McDonald fan at the moment. But Major Mod's device will be watching. But another part of this story, of course, will be the fact that if a driver is planning to go very long in the open instant, they will be trying to save some fuel and also manage the tyres. And as a reminder, in terms of those tyre changes, it is a mandatory 1 tyre change. So you just need to change 1 tyre in the car. It can be any one of the 4, but it will be typically a front tyre because we are running front engine, front wheel drive touring car racing machines, and therefore it's the front tyres that do the majority of the work. The rear tyres, they don't get to have a nap. They do have to still grip up over the rear, particularly as you go through these higher speed corners. But the understanding is that the front tyres do the majority of it, as meanwhile, well, Logan McKinzie here trying to make his way around the outside through the chase, and he will get that done there. Smooth move from Logan McKinzie. Fleet Swift put up a defensive wall, but he was not as firm as perhaps he could be, and I think just tried to and pressure Logan McKinzie into an error, but also cognizant of the fact he doesn't want Hendricks to get away. He'd like to stay with these Alpha drives if he can. Going on, Michael Polasek feeling growing pressure there from Wojciech Swirydowicz as we look back to the rear of the number 1 car, the defending champion who will have to give his crown to the champion-elect chasing him at the end of this season. But right now, the power of dreams, the 3 Hondas that lead the way, well, whose dreams are going to be the highest of winning here at Bathurst, we'll have to wait and see. And who, meanwhile, is going to have a bit of a nightmare by comparison. Well, 15 minutes to this race complete so far. And we can see here Michael Polasek definitely feeling a bit of nightmarish pressure from Wojciech Swirydowicz. Although, to be fair, if I know Michael well enough, he will not be feeling it's a nightmare right now. He'll be reveling in the pressure that's been imparted onto him and enjoying the sensation of battling with a long-standing rival. As Ray TU will find himself right on the back of the group here. And it'll be interesting to see what TU can do. Remember, of course, your Season 16 inaugural Gamma champion, promoted to the Alpha class for this season. He's had some very solid performances, no doubt about it, and looking to try and chase another overall win, or at least another overall podium. But as they make their way into Quarry Bend, that is going to be Francois Schink making a move there. Oh, Chris McDonald. Well, not Chris McDonald, Major Bondevice. Let me correct myself there. And, well, an absolutely brilliant move being made. We see the tail end of it. We'll try and get a replay of that shortly. But Major Bondevice now has Mike Delmeda and Third originally for close company behind as they come in towards McPhillamy Park. And the SRG driver coming through the left-hander here. Well, right now, Delta leader, but he needs all the overall places he can get, because right now, this will not be enough. With Richie in 13th and Long in 17th place, we will still see Long take the championship crown, and he will take it by a considerable margin of points, no doubt about it, as we do some quick mathematical calculations. And right now, for Ty Long, with that 17th compared to Richie's 30th place, well, it would be championship crown by 45 points to Ty Long as we calculated provisionally. So therefore, our Richie need to keep moving forward. He cannot sit here right now. But of course, the Gamma and Alpha drives in front of him also want to make their own progress. It's no easy game here. And that's what makes the Alpha Touring Challenge so interesting, of course, because you're awarded points first and foremost based on your overall finishing position. And if you're a Delta or a Gamma driver, you do get some bonus points for class pole position in qualifying, but also for finishing on the class podium, as well as the Sublime Finesse Award for having 3 or less instant points over the race distance. But for it originally, well, he'll want to try and get himself into the top 10 first and foremost, and from that point onwards, he'll need to try and push to around 7th place if Long was to stay in 17th if he wants that crown. But as he makes way on towards lap number 9, well, it has definitely been one of those laps where he is staying with Delmeda and Monsivice, as meanwhile Cooper Akers behind, still watching at a distance, 1.7 seconds behind, and the Pennzoil Super Touring team with Zachary Leopold for close company behind him, and it's the top 2 drivers of each team that take the points of their team out of a given round. And right now, it does seem as though Pennzoil Super Touring will just about hold on to that run-up spot in the team's championship versus Yellow Flag Motorsport. Even with Michael Polasek leading the race, it takes a team effort, of course. And right now, his points will not be enough, with his teammates also scoring out there as best they possibly can. But as our drivers make the way towards the end of the opening third of the race, we take a look back at what exactly happened to none other than Logan McKinzie versus Fleet Smith. They overtake that definitely was made in towards the chase chicane. So it's going down Conrad, and here we can see Logan McKinzie getting closer and closer and looking into the braking zone there in his Honda, and Fleet Smith defending as best as possible, but in the end scooping it around the outside, and smooth lines from both drivers there, and Logan McKinzie with a textbook pass, and Fleet Smith very respectful in his battling. But then we also got to see this, Francois Schink on Major Monsivice. And this on lap number 8, and it was from Monsivice going a bit wide there at Griffin's Bend, and Francois Schink went round the outside to do this move, and well, it was the 2 parts here. Into the cut he went, and as they came back into camera shot, well, it was a better exit coming in towards the cutting up towards the Quarry Corner, and Major Monsivice then understeering wide. I don't think he quite believed that they went too wide all the way through, but they did, and absolutely stylish racing from both drivers there, no doubt about it. Well done to Francois Schink, definitely an absolutely bold and brilliant move, and well, this is what it looked like from on board as he made the move happen. And in the end, you can see Monsivice just having a very poor run out the corner, making a bit of a ham sandwich of Griffin's Bend, and Schink looking around the outside here, and as he did, well, such a wide line, you can see there in the rear view mirror at the top centre of your screen the fact that Monsivice still there, 2 wide all the way through, briefly appeared into the camera shot, and Schink getting it done, going in towards turn number 5, as we do return to your live racing, ladies and gentlemen. As we do come back to Cooper Akers, well, still seeing up the road ahead of him. It has got some drivers waiting him, but he's still got a bit more work to do if he wants to chase them down. Well, right now we do leave the onboard of Cooper Akers, running 14th ahead of teammate Zachary Leopold, and we come all the way back to the front. Michael Polasek still leads, but Wojciech Swirydowicz now with an attempt here. This is the closest he's got so far today. Swirydowicz is definitely mounting the pressure as he knows how to, and right here behind. Well, could we see Beaver and D's make it a 1-2 right at the end here of the season? That's their target. A double podium will be absolutely huge for the team, and indeed it would perfectly seal the deal with regards to their team's championship crown. But right now they want the 1-2. But to get that 1-2, they've got to find a way to beat a man who definitely knows how to win more than anybody else. He is the all-time record holder in the Alpha Touring Challenge for overall career wins. It is Michael Polasek sitting on the best part of what is in the low 60s right now, with Wojciech Swirydowicz only, I believe, 3 wins behind him. Indeed, the two have constantly seen the record switch back and forth between them. So close between them. Of course, the driver with the most overall drivers' championship crowns is Logan McKinzie with 6 to Polasek's 5. And, well, Polasek is going to have to wait another season to see where we can level the playing field versus Logan McKinzie, our own Michael Schumacher, if you will. And McKinsie's record still standing the test of time, no matter where he finishes this season. But as he comes down from Forest Elbow, we look to Fleet Smith, who has dropped away from Logan McKinzie, and it's 6 seconds back there to Damon Mitchell, who still has the ever-threatening presence of Matt Shepka behind him. And Shepka at this point chasing after not just a spot on the podium, but second place. And I wonder here if both drivers feel as though they can catch up to Smith. Although looking at the lap times recently, Fleet Smith is not on slow pace. Mid-13s versus what is high 13s for these two. So it does seem as though Fleet Smith, even though he's not able to stay with the top 5 Alpha drivers, he has still got a bit of a pace advantage over the rest of his rivals. As here comes Shepka up the inside. And, well, Damon Mitchell, they're not offering too much of a defence, but I think Damon Mitchell might be prioritising protecting the car a little bit. Although saying that, Shepka making an absolute mountain out of a couple of quarters. And, well, here comes Damon Mitchell looking back up the inside as Fleet Smith is into the pit lane for his first pit stop. And here comes Damon Mitchell then back on the inside. Lovely bit of attacking driving. Matt Shepka has had the better run off of Murray's Bend. Now into Hell Corner they go. Does Damon Mitchell back off here, or does he decide to go all in for the move? He decides he's going to go for it there. A bit of a 50-50 move. And as they come out the corner, meanwhile, with pit stops around the corner, Michael Polasek right under pressure of Swirydowicz. Swirydowicz goes the outside in towards Griffin's Bend. Can he get it done? Well, Polasek's going to make sure he gets his elbows out. Polasek stays ahead for now. And will Swirydowicz still try to squeeze away? No room at the end for him. Matt Shepka has got that move done on Damon Mitchell, confirming it coming out of Hell's Court as we briefly saw before we cut away. And now you can see it's Shepka, Mitchell, McDonald, your top 3 in the Gamma class together. Albeit, remember, this is on the road. We have had Fleet Smith, who was 5 seconds up the road, come into the pits for his first stop. So therefore, you would expect that Fleet Smith will be coming out further down the field, but he will strategically still be leading. But meanwhile, Polasek right now, Eddie close on that. And Swirydowicz will be taking the rear bumper off the number 1 driver, and the Yellow Flag Motorsport machine holding on to the pressure that is the Beaver and D's cars behind. But right now for Polasek, well, what is the stick with the strategy? Is he planning to come in shortly? Is he going to try and go as even longer? And meanwhile, I think Swirydowicz trying to make the move like he did as he makes a bit of a mistake there going through the dipper, and so that gap opens up to 7 tenths. And well, it's rare that you see a mistake from Swirydowicz or Polasek, but it is Swirydowicz who makes the first error of the day there, going a little bit deep coming out the dipper, too much speed, and almost hitting the barrier there at turn 15. Not quite. And doing so to back off the throttle just in time. Very much cat-like reactions and reflexes there from Swirydowicz to do so. Indeed, they're having to react within 100ths of a second to make sure they don't make the mistakes. But Swirydowicz there pushing hard and pushing perhaps a little bit too hard. But in terms of pit stops that have been made, we've had Smith, Akers, Long, and also Kuo all in. Plus also, I believe that Lynn has come into the pit lane as well. So therefore, we've had the best part of 5 to 6 drivers come in. Jalen Kuo is leaving the pit lane now as we understand it. And will we see the drivers at the front of the field coming? Yes, they all do. And, well, 24 minutes into the race they've come in. So, therefore, we are expecting a 2-stop, albeit some may gamble on a 1-stop here, although I think it would be too risky given the length of the lap. And, indeed, if we were to go 1 extra lap than predicted, well, suddenly it would mean that the 1-stoppers would have to save a gargantuan amount of fuel. So, I think this is going to be a mass pit lane exodus. And, indeed, right now we're seeing the entirety of the running top 15 all come into the pit lane. Nobody is going any longer. And, well, I think that explains the story there. And, to be fair, the 2-stop strategy versus the 1-stop, the 2-stop is probably advisable, just simply because this is why the shorter pit lanes on our season calendar, and you don't lose as much time you lose in the pit lane compared to some of the other circuits we have visited. So therefore, you do have an opportunity here to really gain some time, as we see pretty much every car up on the jacks there, although to be fair, I believe Shepka not on the jacks. And meanwhile, there is Fleet Smith making his way onwards, and as he does so, well, Francois Schink has completed his pit stop early, so he's going for a short middle stint. Meanwhile, a lot of other drivers now coming down to the jacks and indeed completing their first pit stop and putting plenty of fuel back in, but Francois Schink is going to come out in 4th place here, and just ahead of Logan McKinzie. McKinsie's not going to be too happy about this, with Micah Hendricks getting closer once again. Fleet Smith a bit further behind there, running 7th at the moment, and well, he was the first to stop inside the top 10 overall, pitting on lap number 10, and it's brought him out in 7th place, but he's still a world away from the Alphas in front of him, but he's still very comfortably ahead of the Gammas behind him. Damon Mitchell, he's lost out to Chris McDonald in the pit lane. And Chris McDonald has jumped up into 3rd in Gamma, and for Damon Mitchell, this race has gone from good to great to backwards now, as we see Swirydowicz originally side by side here with Major Monservice. He's on the outside, trying to battle his way for 12th, but in the end, Monservice is going to take that place off of him, and both with similar pit stops, albeit Ridgely's pit stop was a little bit longer end-to-end in the pit lane by comparison, and that's how Monservice has taken the place off of him. So some twists in the tail there, no doubt about it, for these drivers, and will that be in a big twist there for Swirydowicz Ridgely, and suddenly he finds himself back in 13th place, not able to move into 12th, and Monservice continuing to be a thorn in his side as they rolled away onto this 12th lap of racing. But a great haul of pit stops there being made. We're expecting a lot of short pit stops then right towards the end. Oh, that's a big hit to the barrier there for Swirydowicz Ridgely. And well, you can see how shaken he was. The car loses a lot of momentum there. Has that damaged the rear right suspension? I think he has. He's struggling. I think that's it for Al Ridgely. He will need to go into the pit lane at the end of this lap. That car is not looking happy. And well, 2 wide there into the dipper of all places. Zachary Leopold, you madman. You don't do that, but he does it. And indeed, Al Ridgely being as respectful as possible, no doubt about it. And Coup Breakers comes on through as well. Al Ridgely right now is crawling out there, and that could be the impact that really seals the deal in the championship as far as the race is going. Meanwhile, Micah Hendricks has had something go wrong as well. We're not quite sure what, but he's had to tow to the pit lane. There's Zachary Bowman, and Tyler Long now comes into the rear of the picture, and suddenly for Al Ridgely, what was a distant hope, that light at the end of the tunnel of potentially stealing away the Delta Championship crown for Tyler Long. Well, it's all very much gone wrong, and as they come down towards the chase on the straight here, it looks like Al Ridgely's okay, but on the run of any corner, Al Ridgely is struggling. Any left-hander in particular, he just cannot get the car to turn, and that's because the rear right suspension has collapsed, and that means he's got no rotation on the rear end. And well, as we see Tyler Long there take leader Delta class, Al Ridgely into pit lane. That fast repair will be used, but for Al Ridgely, that right now, unless Long makes a mistake of his own, that could be his undoing for the season. And Wolf Al Ridgely's got to get that car repaired. The SRG team have got to get it back out there as quickly as they can. They cannot give up. Remember, we have still got 32 minutes of the final lap left in this race, and Tyler Long will know it. All of our drivers know it, but particularly for Tyler Long, yes, he's now into the Delta lead. The team will say to him, you are leading, do not get complacent. Focus on getting to the end, and that's all he can do at this point, because until that time, anything can happen in motorsport, and it normally does. But goodness me, what a lap number 12 we've had. Some big moments on lap number 12. Michael Polasek still leads and Wojciech Swirydowicz and Ray 2. The gaps have spread a little bit, with Polasek seemingly saved a bit more fuel on that opening stint compared to Swirydowicz, who tried to look for the move just before they came into the pit lane, but it didn't work out, and Ray 2 falling a little bit further back. So are we now going to see our top 3 overall start spread out a little bit? Well, we'll find out in due course. Now, one of the interesting things that Al Ridgely can do as a result of his pit stop is he can try to see if he can make that his second pit stop. He has taken a little bit of fuel. It will be a lap's worth of fuel because he has used a lap of fuel, understandably. He may need to then save an extra lap if he wants to avoid making a third trip to pit lane. He has come back out in 20th place overall, 6th for the Deltas. His first target, 2.5 seconds up the road, is Jeremy Barber, but it's not impossible. Oh, what's this? Major on slice into the barrier. That's Forest Hill. No, that's not Forest Hill. That's the Dipper. And well, coming through there, Zachary Bowman hearing the yellow flag over the call of the spotter, and in the end realised he could squeeze away through as Monservice tried to get himself restarted, and did so. Both drivers there avoided making contact with each other, but Major Monservice at the moment, we're seeing some difficulties here for some drivers right at the midway point of the race, and let's take a look back in time and explain what exactly has happened. Started, of course, with, I do believe, what happened to none other than Al Ridgely losing those places after his pit stop, and indeed some difficulty there, and here is the replay to explain. So this was making the way up towards turn number 2. So this was Major Monservice making the move on Al Ridgely, who he thought he was going to beat on the strategy, but then had to beat him in towards turn number 2. And Al Ridgely in the end losing out there. A critical pass, no doubt about it. And as they made the way up the rise, well, Al Ridgely continued to attack. We ride on board them. The SRG drivers progression up the mountain, and you see immediately to come back. Monservice to go very defensive going through the cut-in. Originally, you can see he was not happy losing the place, but now this is where it goes wrong. Comes through turn number 6, absolutely fine, and 7. Back it off there, a little bit too much curb. But now through turn number 8, carries a lot of speed. Let's listen. Through 9. And you could hear the understeer there. The front tyre is just struggling to grip up that front left in particular, actually just not taking the apex the way it wanted to. And the 119 drive hitting the barrier there and then suddenly losing all the places just like that. But we, of course, then had this happen to Micah Hendricks. And this was Hendricks making his way through Forest Elbow. Ooh! Brushing the inside barrier there and the whole front left dropping immediately. Can we get a bit of an earlier look to that? I wonder if we can. Let's try and see if we can do so. This was Hendricks making his way around. In fact, we come back a bit earlier than perhaps we anticipated, and we'll have to wait and see how far we can go with it. In fact, I think we might be able to get a bit of a look later on. We do apologise here for having to reschedule that replay. Here we go. And well, you could hear the whack straight away. They're just too close to inside wall for Hendricks. And just like that, his race brought to an abrupt halt. And well, after that, of course, we did have this for Major Mods of Ice. And this was Montevice, who looked quite comfortable running in 11th place. And then suddenly coming down in towards the dipper from Skyline. What went wrong here? And the answer is lost the rear. The rear completely went go into turn 13 and hit the barrier there. And thankfully, the car was parked right on the outside. Did not go any further, then got it restarted. But not before we did see Zachary Bowen throw himself into the space that was available and take the place. But with that, we go back to your live racing, ladies and gentlemen. And as we do come back, we still do have the best part of 28 minutes and a final lap to go. So therefore, this is not over yet. There's some huge moments there. Swirydowicz originally finding his way past Jeremy Barber. And, well, still trying to make some more progress. Meanwhile, Tyler Long and Major Mods Vice, the T0 Racing pair, have swapped the place on around. And, well, a bit of a smart move there, I think, to do so. Given that Montevice has some damage on the car, there's no point hold up a sister team driver, particularly when that sister team driver is going for the Delta Crown. But as Long makes his way down towards turn number 23, Montevice now, I think, play the team player game and just simply sit behind. Unless Long makes a mistake, then he'll try to come back. But I think the game plan will be simply act as a rear guard and make sure none of the Deltas can touch Long as he looks to try and push towards that Delta Crown. And he's getting closer and closer to it with every lap he completes. Meanwhile, coming back to Shepka versus McDonald in the fight for second in Gamma and 7th overall. Well, Damon Mitchell's also there with them. Mitchell's lost out the most of the strategy. And will Matt Shepka, meanwhile, try to hold on here for what would be not quite a win, but it would be his best result of the season in endurance race in the Gamma class. The senior driver right now, no stranger to being right towards the front of the Gamma class. He has had some mixed fortunes this season, but right now trying to put those mixed fortunes at bay as best he possibly can. But as he comes on over the mountain, well, right now, Shepka has got a long way to go if he wants to take this second place finish. And well, in terms of the last time we did see Shepka take a class win, and indeed, I believe it may have been a little bit before the introduction of the Gamma class. And indeed, it was all the way back when he was considered to be an Alpha driver in Season 10, Round 10 at Sebring many years ago. In fact, the best part of 2.5 years ago. His only time he's ever taken an overall win for Shepka. And to be fair to him, he is one of those drivers who has been on the grid for so long. He's part of the furniture, and we wouldn't have it any other way. We absolutely love seeing Shepka out there. No winning Gamma this season, although he has come close to it. And we're still pushing on for that win, and we'll have to wait and see whether he can make it happen before the season is complete. Of course, if he's going to take the win, he'll need to steal it away from Fleet Smith, who right now is outpacing the rest of the Gammas by the tune of the best part of 6/10 a lap on average, as he continues to follow Francois Schenk. But then again, it only takes one error, as we have seen for so many drivers here today. As we now go into a bit of a quiet middle stint here, this is where strategy really plays out. But of course, we have had a majority of the field all go for an identical strategy. Now, in terms of those pit stops, what will you have seen in the pits? Well, the mandatory tyre change. And it's very likely a two-stop race. Well, it does normally mean that you only see 1 or 2 tyres being changed, but it's a very similar amount of time for changing 2 tyres as it is 1, presuming, of course, that the drivers are changing tyres on the same axle. A single tyre being changed is 22.1 seconds. 2 tyres on the same axle, so either the front or the rear, that's 22.5. So typically you would change both front tyres in order to give yourself the best possible tyre life towards the end of the race. If you change all 4 tyres, or 3 or more tyres we could say, across both axles, then you extend the pit stop time to 42.7 seconds. That's why you've only seen most likely front axle changes, and with some will have gone for a singular tyre. It would be the front right tyre, given the circuit is anti-clockwise, so plenty more left-handers than right-handers, so that front right tyre is doing the greatest amount of work out there. And some drivers will have preferred to have a completely clean front axle, but have gone for the 2 tyres being changed. It's an extra 0.4 of a second. Add to the fuel that goes into the car as well, and that's why we have seen other pit times. So those who've gone for the tyre change in the opening stint, when it's been the best part of 23 to 24 seconds stationary there, because it's all been about changing those tyres and then having the car come down off the jacks and get going once again. Meanwhile, the Wondros decide to go for a bit of a bogey strategy. Is Francois Schink deciding only to put fuel in the car for his first pit stop. Of course, he will need to change a tyre in the second stop, so this will see him relegated back down the order. But his thought process is, by getting himself up further through the field, he's in amongst the company that he feels as though he's got the pace on, but also on top of that, he's got a clear road in front of him. So therefore, he's not entwined in all the battles that he would be entwined with if he was towards the back end of the top 10 or into the latter portion of the top 15. So Schink taking a bit of a gamble, trying to take the gamble that we saw Fleet Smith go for all the way back at Long Beach. But will it work out here? We will have to see. Speaking of Fleet Smith right behind him there. So right now, Smith will know what strategy Schink is on, and we wish him the best of luck for it, most likely. And, well, Matt Shepka, meanwhile, has got to hold the faith here that he is effectively at the moment what is your Gamma class leader on strategy, albeit it doesn't look like it from a driver's perspective when you see Fleet Smith in front of him. In fact, let me correct myself there. I'm getting a bit ahead of myself. Fleet Smith is the leader on the Gamma class strategy and overall, but Shepka right now will be thinking to himself, right, there's an extra driver in front in the form of Francois Schink, but Schink in turn will fall back a little bit later, and that's where you've got to be cognizant of what's going on around you, just as much of the strategy as you have on track tactically. As we come back to Tyler Long, the Delta leader at the moment, make his way on through, and well, the lead this race coming as a result of Swirydowicz mistake as Major Monsivice comes into the pit lane. So this is looking to be a final pit stop quite early for Monsivice. I reckon it's because of the fact he has got some damage to the car, and he's decided to essentially go in from a strategy that was going to be long, long, short to long, short, long. He will be able to put the fuel in to get to the end, but he will have a heavier car now for the remainder of the race, and that is going to be the risk with this, of course. He does get the car repaired, however, and I think that's the most important part here. Get the fast repair, get a couple of laps worth of fuel in the car to get to the end, and then get out there and see what you could do, because otherwise he's only losing time as he spends 9.7 seconds stationary, and then once Monsivice goes there, but he now will drop behind the likes of Fred Ridgely and Mark Darnell. Ridgely, of course, coming into the pit lane for a fast repair after his brush with the barrier coming out to turn number 9. The only problem is, will Ridgely be able to go to the end, given the fact we believe he had to put 1 lap of fuel back in the car when he really needs about 2 or 3 laps to be able to ensure his safety to get to the finish. Jeremy Parler, well, he's going to have a bit of a drag race here versus Monsivice. Monsivice will not want to be beaten by the Honda driver Yamaha Motorsport, and will bar in the end consigns himself to tuck him back in behind, and Monsivice will be grateful for that because the Elantra driver now has a clear run, well, the best part of 5 seconds to Ridgely's car, and he can get himself back up to speed and just simply start pumping out the laps. But back to the front we go, and well, Polasek versus Swirydowicz. They have dropped to you now to the best part of 3.5 seconds behind, and these two stalwarts of the field still looking to do battle. As they roll their way towards the end of lap number 17. Definitely a bit of a quiet race at the moment, but again, as we say, strategy now becoming the big operative word at this moment, and therefore we're waiting to see whether mistakes come in. This will be a test of consistency, as Francois Schink having a bit of a rally cross moment there. And coming out of the chase chicane, making there, and here comes Fleet Smith, and Schink immediately goes to the pit lane here, where he wasn't a short stop, to be fair to him, so therefore now this will be a longer pit stop, and we'll see where it brings him out, as Fleet Smith will retake 5th place overall, and as he makes way down onto another lap, he'll be happy to see a clear road in front of him, and no, now he's only got a bit more time before he does become the 2nd ever Gamma champion in the ATC, but as Matt Shepka comes on through. So does Chris McDowell, Damon Mitchell. So they will all clear Schink for the time being. Remembering, of course, they do have 1 more pit stop towards the end. But where does Francois come out? As car up on the jacks there, serving the mandatory tyre change. I get the feeling this is going to bring him out somewhere around Carl Trost stroke Jason Lynn, or between the two of them. And Strost makes his way out of the final corner, and your 21 driver right now, currently running 2nd in Delta for T0 Race Ascent. This could be a 1-2 for the team, but here is Schink then, and making his way up to speed to the pit limiter. Jason Lynn comes down the start for this straight. I think Schink is going to be just behind Lynn when all is considered, but remember, Lynn will still have to make a 2nd pit stop, and therefore we will see the tables turn again. And right now, Francois Schink does come out behind the Audi driver, but he'll be grateful to be within a 2nd of him. Around about 1.2 seconds once they're up to speed on the straights. He will get a distant tow, and where Francois Schink can make this work out, he will be able to gain a little bit of lap time back off of Jason Lynn by simply having the draft there on the straight, something the Honda definitely needs in order to get maximum top end. And for Francois Schink, this could be the opportunity to gain the best part of around about 1 to 2 seconds over the course of the next couple of laps. We'll see if that's the way it works out in practice. As meanwhile, we come to what is the penultimate of our runners right now, and indeed the last of our lead lap runners of Jaelin Kuo, still running out there in 7th in Delta, 21st overall, and of course the instant earlier on in the race that forced him into the pit lane. Well, for Jaelin, it has been one of those races whereby after a decent start, things have fallen apart a little bit, but he's still keeping his head down and pushing on in the 00 car, and that's what we're very happy to see as he makes his way onto his 18th tour of the circuit. But completing said 18th tour, here's Michael Polasek right now with Wojciech Swirydowicz, and the gap back up to 8 tenths at this point. Polasek is definitely trying to open up that gap as much as possible. For Polasek right now, it's definitely proving to be one of those days, much like at Phillip Island, where Swirydowicz is a constant threat that he just cannot seem to shake. And, well, will he be able to drop him here today formally, or will Swirydowicz have a tool in his kit that he'll be able to use here to make a pass a bit later on? Ray 2 has definitely been dropped by the pair after staying with them for so long in the opening stint. It does seem as though this second stint out is seeing the two multi-time champions in the Overwatch Drivers' Championship now really bolt away and flexing their muscle. But Ray 2 looking very safe from Logan McKinzie by comparison, who has matched him on lap time but is not able to close that gap down from 4.6 seconds. Fleet Smith there, your 5th place runner right now, very comfortably clear of the gammers behind. Matt Shepka just about to come over the hill as we do leave Smith behind. And there is Shepka with Chris McDonald and Damon Mitchell. 2nd, 3rd and 4th in Gamma, 6th, 7th and 8th overall. They're still together here still. And this is definitely going to be a battle for the final 2 spots on the Gamma podium that we suspect is going to come down to strategy. And then who's going to be the bravest of the trio on that final short stint. And that's going to be the big question that we'll get the answer to, as Mike de Almeida still chasing after them, but he's not quite on the pace. But he is clear of Zachary Leopold, Cooper Akers and Zachary Bowman by comparison. And for Mike de Almeida, this is a race now that definitely is a bit of a lonely one in 5th in Gamma, 9th overall. Not, I think, the way he wanted his season to end. As Damon Mitchell is starting to set faster times now. He's going for personal bests out there. A 13.59 was his previous lap. Is the Crop Promotions driver here now starting to become a point of interest as he makes his way down through Skyline in towards the dipper. We ride on board. My good lord, the speed and the savagery of which he gets so close to the back of Chris McDonald there. Well, McDonald taking it very casually through the corners. Meanwhile, Damon Mitchell just literally out of left field saying, right, it's now time to go for it. And, well, Mitchell at this point, I think he's got a bit between his teeth. I wonder if he's starting to think now, well, he'll be coming into the pit soon. I better get a move on here. And if so, well, is this going to light a fire under Chris McDonald to get him to make a bit of a hurry up? Because McDonald now is 8.5 tenths behind Shepka. McDonald hasn't made any visible mistakes there coming through Skyline into the dipper. Just Damon Mitchell, out of nowhere, setting the fastest middle sector of any Gamma driver here today. And right now, we know the 27 dry is absolutely rapid, but we didn't expect it to be that rapid at that sequence. But as he comes through the chase and down towards Murray's Bend, will we see him flick to the pit lane at this point, or will he just stay tucked in behind? The answer is going to be he stays behind now. Wipers going on there to get some of the debris off of the windscreen, give himself the best possible visibility. But Damon Mitchell going on to lap 20. Surely there's going to be an opportunity for a move here. Well, not if he makes a mistake like that coming out of Murray's Bend, taking a bit too much exit curb, and a little bit of oversteer flicking its way onto the car. But right now, Damon Mitchell pushing on here. A pit stop is coming, and he wants to be ahead of Chris McDonald before that pit stop is coming away. But as we do look out at the onboard, we can see they're leaving the pit lane. That was John Daniels for his final stop of the day. We have, unfortunately, had Jeremy Barber towed to the pit lane, so it's gone wrong for Barber. We'll get a replay of that when we can. I think it's a little bit crowded there in the rear of your picture, but I do believe that his drivers stepping over the top of each other as Jason Lynn is into the pit lane there for his final stop, and Francois Schink will now start to take some places back after what was his longer pit stop, going on the offset strategy compared to the majority of the field. And Schink makes his way in towards turn number 1. Now to 14th place. He'll be comfortably ahead of Mark Darnell and Fred Ridgely, of course, but the most important drivers he's cleared are those pitting, Carl Trost and Jason Lynn, as our Delta leader is in for his final pit stop of the season, as he'll be hoping. And meanwhile, John Daniels, what's happened to him? At the cutting, well, it's definitely been a difficult race for John, and well, things have gone from difficulty to disaster, it would seem, but he's been able to get the car going once again. Did he just park it up there to respect the blue flags? I'm not sure. We'll see if we can get a replay of that very shortly as Trost and Lynn leave the pit lane. Carl Trost very much clear of Jason, who you can see in the rear of the picture, and well, that really defines the gap strategically right now that Trost does have over the Delta field. But as we do look from Carl Trost to a man who is yet to take a second pit stop, Chris McDonald, well, that is Damon Mitchell again getting close. Mitchell almost brushing the wall there coming out to Forest Elbow this time. And the Crop Promotions driver makes his way down Conrod. Now, is Damon Mitchell going to go for it here, or does he just simply sit behind. Of course, both of them for the same team, so at this point, you want to try and work together. I think Damon Mitchell trying to make a point here to Chris, which is, I am the quicker driver, Chris. I would like to go hunting after Shepka if possible, but Chris McDonald, of course, has his sights set on his own aspirations in the Gamma Championship, wanted to be the second place finisher to none other than Fleet Smith, and right now looking very much set to do so, albeit here they come down towards Murray's Bend. No change once again, and neither car defected to the pit lane, as Matt Shepka has been bought a bit of space here for Sia. And well, a 1.2 second gap now over Chris McDonald. He will be feeling a bit more comfortable. McDonald there going slightly defensive in the middle of the road. I think trying to say to Damon Mitchell, don't do it, Damon. I know what's coming. And well, unfortunately, unlike Anakin Sky, well, unlike Obi-Wan Kenobi, he doesn't have the higher ground. I'm not sure if he's a Star Wars fan, to be fair. But right now, Damon Mitchell definitely trying to make his way past his teammate as quickly as he can. And well, I think Chris McDonald there just literally doing a bit of a showing of a defensive line to say to me, it's not worth it right now. But, of course, it could be a debate amongst teammates. Swirydowicz originally, well, he's on this recovery drive. On time to go for his second pit stop a lot earlier than planned, and he's on the back of Mark Darnell as Ty Long is into the pit lane. So, Richie here, can he turn up, set around into what could be a class win? Let's see, as Ty Long still being serviced at the moment, but here comes Richie then, making his way onwards. Where's Ty Long? He's making his way up to speed. And for Ridgely here, by turning his pit stop upside down, I think Ridgely is going to retake the lead of the Delta class, presuming, of course, that Mark Darnell is on a second pit stop. But Darnell is now your Delta leader. This is going to be a very interesting end to this Delta race, however, ladies and gents, because there's Long behind. You can see him in the rear of the picture, but we believe that Ridgely needs to save an extra lap of fuel in order to be able to make it to the end, given the earliness of his second stop. Well, here he goes at the inside of Darnell to take the Delta lead on the road. Darnell not offering too much of a defence there, knowing he's in a bit of a different race right now. Darnell sticking to plan A for the team there at Gator Racing. But can Ridgely go an extra lap on that fuel tank? We believe he's at a laps deficit, maybe 1.5 laps deficit, in fact, in that fuel tank. And right now, Ty Long has definitely got the fuel to get to the end. But for Ridgely, there may be a second stop in the works, and it may come with around about 5 to 6 minutes to go in this race. And if so, well, of course, Tyler right now, he won't know what's going on here. I think Tyler's going to have a sneaking suspicion that Ridgely is out of sequence, but will he be betting on the fact that Ridgely has got to make an extra pit stop or not? It is going to be close. Jalen Coe makes his final pit stop of the day, and as he does so, coming out behind none other than what is your race leaders overall. So he goes a lap down to Michael Polasek and Wojciech Swirydowicz, who have yet to take their second and final stop. But pit stop here for Fleet Smith. So is the case for David Mitchell. So he decides he's going to go for the undercut versus Chris McDonald. He's done everything he can, and he's not going to get it done on the road. He's going to get it done in the pit lane. So Shepka and McDonald stay out. Matthew Shepka for see you there, as we get a lovely view of the team's logo on the side of the car. Well, he carries on the story in the lead of the Gamma class right now, but remember, it is Fleet Smith's lead effectively. Shepka is an on-track leader at the moment, and he is fighting for that second place on the Gamma podium versus McDonald, as Shepka there almost taking some grass with him up towards Griffin's Bend. Well, I know he wants to collect some samples at every circuit he goes to, but perhaps a bit too many samples there, although he may be doing it for Aperture Science. And the reason we say that is because if you ever remember the Aperture Science liveries run in the ATC, particularly on the Honda Civic Type R, this was the man, I do believe, who designed those liveries. And indeed, liveries that even GLaDOS will be proud of. But as he heads onwards right now, will he be turning on the valves of even more pace here as he comes towards the end of his second stint? We will have to see, because it'll be full steam ahead. Okay, I'll put the game no puns away with regards to Matt Shepka's car as he roars his way onwards. Meanwhile, Michael Polasek lead his way through the Forest Elbow once again, and we're half a second ahead of Wojciech Swirydowicz at the moment. Swirydowicz is starting to close that gap back up, but we saw this in the first stint. We're seeing it again now in the second stint. Swirydowicz constantly managing the pace behind Polasek, but again, Polasek saving fuel at the front of the field. We saw that in the first stint. It is going to be so close between these two on this final pit stop as we understand it. It is all going to come down to who's been the smarter of the two drivers. Both incredibly brilliant at managing races, both really playing 5D chess against each other at high speed. And right now as Polasek drifts and glides his way through the chase chicane. Does he come in? Yes, he does. So both our leaders in. Ray to the best part of 8.5 seconds behind. Such is the way he's been dropped by the two of them. We're coming in, and we are now into the final pit stop territory for the majority of the field, if not everyone who has yet to take a second pit stop, as we had a bit more trial for Jeremy Barber, who's had to go to the pit lane again, from what I'm hearing. Well, we will get some replays of what happened earlier on shortly. Matt Shepka makes his way out of the chase, and he gets ready to pit, surely, as he heads down. Indeed, he does so, and Chris McDonald will follow him in. So now, where exactly does the field fit back together? That is the final question we have, and where does Damon Mitchell come into the equation as far as Shepka and McDonald are concerned? He's making his way halfway down Conrad already. Well, first up, let's take a look to your leaders, and it's Polasek and Swirydowicz who leave in the pit lane as they entered. Polasek ahead, 10.08 seconds to stop for Polasek, 10.03 seconds to stop for Swirydowicz. Practically identical pit stops there, and Polasek comes back out the leader by 6/10. Then Ray Tew leaves the pit lane, and then it's going to be Logan McKinzie. McKinzie has gained in the pits there versus Tew. He has gained the best part of a second there. He is closing quite quickly on Tew. That fight for third could still be on. Flashes headlights there to Tew, saying, I'm coming for you, Ray. Keep an eye on me. Don't worry about everything else. But here comes Shepka out the pit lane. Fleet Smith's going to be there with him, and Shepka is going to be right alongside Smith. I did not think we'd see this. Fleet Smith right now is not safe for lead anymore at Gamma, and Matt Shepka on the strategy has saved the best part of 4 seconds in the pit lane. In fact, 5 seconds. Shepka's had an absolute brilliant pit stop there for Sia, and he's on the back of Smith. Chris McDonald then has come back out ahead of Damon Mitchell, so suddenly we've got a battle for the Gamma win on our hands here. Shepka can stay with Smith. Of course, Smith has proven to be the quicker drive typically over the race distance, but has Shepka just been holding it all in reserve? We'll have to see. As meanwhile, Cooper Akers and Zachary Bowman are side by side, and well, it does look as though Akers here might be able to clear Bowman's going to look up the inside there in towards Griffin's Bend, but it's all for naught, and Cooper Akers does retake 7th place in Gamma for Zachary Bowman, but Bowman there having a much quicker pit stop by comparison compared to Akers by the best part of a second saved, and well, Cooper Akers right now finding pressure right at the end of this race. There's some twists and turns in the tail, no doubt about it. What about in the Delta class? Well, there's Ty Long who leads, Carl Trost behind, and Fuad Al-Ridgely has had to take that third pit stop sadly for him. He has lost out versus Jason Lim, as he has Long and Trost, and the team deciding, no, they need to put the fuel back in the car. We thought he would have to, and well, there's the confirmation. Ferdo Ridgely now completing 3 pit stops. That's all the expected pit stops done, ladies and gentlemen, or in progress at the very minimum. And now Ridgely will now chase down Jason Lynn for 3rd place in Delta, but Tyler Long is your Delta leader ahead of Carl Trost by the best part of 9 seconds, and Long right now only 8 minutes on the final lap away from becoming the Delta champion with a dominant display. But as our drivers all try to see this one to the end, there's plenty of questions unanswered. Will it be Polasek to win, or will Wojciech Swirydowicz come through to take home the final win of the season as our champion-elect? Well, these two definitely push each other hard. Ray to you. Can he hold on to make it a double podium for Beaver and D's, or will Logan McKinzie spoil the party and a very much needed result to secure Pennzoil Super Touring's run-up spot in the team's championship? Cooper Akers meanwhile, Zachary Bowman, they're not leaving any questions on the table. They want answers now. And it's the battle of the two Hondas. It's going to be Bowman on the inside versus Akers on the outside, going in towards the chase chicane. Bit of elbows out there, and there's further contact between the two of them. And immediately you can see Akers trying to slow down. He's trying to push Bowman back in the right direction. He does so in the end. And well, both cars there are definitely shaken and stirred. And I think Zachary Bowman, there was some significant damage to the car, unfortunately, with that secondary contact. And Cooper Akers will take the place there. But I think Akers feeling as though he was squeezed off the road, tried to come back on, and Zachary Bowman unfortunately being turned as a result of that contact, and we can see flashes headlights there. But I think both drivers will look back at that one and think afterwards, what could we have done better? But in the heat of the moment, of course, you're not thinking about that. You're like a bull to a matador. All you want is the position. As they head up the hill on towards lap number 24, and meanwhile behind, Major Mods Vice will be looking at this and thinking, well, there's an opportunity for me to gain a little bit here, and he will now wait in the wings for a chance. As he powers his way onwards, we take a look back at some of the big moments, including that instant, as we do take a trip back in time. But first and foremost, ladies and gentlemen, we need to take a look back at what exactly happened to none other than, I do believe, Jeremy Barber, whose race, unfortunately, was brought to a bit of a crashing halt. So this was Jeremy Barber on lap number 19 as he made his way up the mountain straight. As he did so, oh, get a bit distracted. Oh my goodness! And well, I'm not quite sure what's happened now. I think a steering wheel failure there, or something's broken, and a wheel came off the car there for Jeremy Barber. And I think there something broke on the car, made his way up the mountain straight. It did be escorted to the barrier. Well, I never expected to see that, but Jeremy Barber, I don't think he expected it. I don't think anybody did, to be fair, and that all went wrong for Jeremy Barber. Meanwhile, we had this for John Daniels. And this was Daniels making his way up towards the cutting, and we had a few drives behind him as he made his way into the corner, went straight on there at turn 3, and literally wall rode his way to a halt there in towards turn number 4 and let the field go past. So that explains why we caught him parked up there early on. It was a bit of a wall ride moment. And then we did have, of course, this moment only moments ago between Zachary Bowman and Cooper Akers. This was on lap 23. And, well, Zachary Bowman making his way down pit road. Cooper Akers, meanwhile, making his way on the start-finish straight. And the two of them would be side by side as they came out of the opening corner. And it would be a drag race that essentially would be initially won by Cooper Akers as he outpowered his way past his fellow Honda driver up towards Griffin's Bend. But of course, then the tables would be turned as they made the way off of the mountain. This was coming down Conrad. It was side by side every step of the way. And on the right, it was Zachary Bowman. On the left, Cooper Akers. And, well, Bowman in the end would see a bit of a flash of the headlights there from Akers. He made his way on down. I think Akers there get a bit excited in the car, but they were too wide as they came in towards the chase, and onto the brakes they went. Bowman on the inside, Akers on the outside, and in the end, well, hitting the curb higher, and that's what led to the contact, and Akers went to rejoin. I think Bowman not thinking that he were, well, I think he was thinking he was clear of Akers' car so he could carry on, but not quite so, and that's what led to the subsequent contacts between the two drivers. But they seem to have worked it all out in the end by the time they got to Murray's Bend, and Akers taking the place back there. A bit unfortunate, the secondary contact, and I think that contact doing some significant damage to Bowman's car by the looks of things. With that, we head back to your live racing. And plenty of elbows out racing there, as we do see a flash of the headlights for none other than Major Monservice. In fact, no, Zachary Bowman there saying to Monservice, on you go then. And what I think it is a situation where Bowman is struggling a little bit with the condition of the car. But as he does continue to struggle with it, 4 minutes remain. And right now, Damon Mitchell still under pressure here to hold on to third. As hold up a second. Chris McDonald's had a bit of an incident. We have not caught that, but McDonald has had to go to the pit lane. And, well, we can't get a replay of what's happened to Chris, but sadly for him, was looking to be a happy end to the season with a chance of a podium. Well, sadly, he's had to give way to Damon Mitchell. Now, we will see if we can find out from race control what's happened to Chris McDonald right towards the close. And the answer to that question is going to be, and essentially, he's been involved in a bit of a contact moment, and I wonder if that is with his teammate or alternatively with a barrier. Of course, we don't exactly know. What we do know is that Mike D'Almeida right now trying to go for a moving turn, trying to steal away that final spot on the podium here from Damon Mitchell in the Gamma class. And, well, D'Almeida's got a bit more motivation into this race now as he can see an opportunity right in front of him. And we're coming down towards Murray's Bend at the moment. With Polasek and Swirydowicz well clear at the front of the field, and Ray Tew and Logan McKinzie and a bit of a fight for third. There's battles everywhere you look now for podium spots in Gamma and overall. And a continuous flash of the headlights there for Mike D'Almeida. He's really trying to get into Mitchell's head at this point. And, well, it doesn't seem to be working at the moment. To be fair, I don't think anything unsettles Damon, although he runs a bit wide there coming out of turn number 1. And that may open up a doorway here for Mike D'Almeida to get a little bit closer. But he's going to need a bit more huff and puff than that. As they make the way up towards turn number 2 again, well, the gap is 3 tenths and slowly closing. You can see that speed of that Audi versus the Honda, and that is what's making a difference and keeping Damon and Mitchell safe. But as soon as they come into the brakes, that's where the Honda is going to close up. And, well, a bit of an error there from Damon Mitchell running wide. And, in fact, I think Damon Mitchell giving up the place there, or is he? Yes, he is by the looks of things. So I think there's been a bit of an incident that we haven't seen. We will try and get a replay of it, ladies and gentlemen, after the race is complete. So it will provide a lot of context as to what's happened here. But Mike D'Almeida does take third place in Gamma and 7th overall from Damon Mitchell. But there's a lot more of a story to that than meets the eye. And it all happened on lap 25. So we will come back to that a bit later. But as Damon Mitchell is then dropped, meanwhile, well, will Ray Tew be able to hold off Logan McKinzie, or will he be dropped by and the 6-time ATC champion? Well, Tew right now find himself in the pressure and the presence of greatness, although to be fair, he has been great on his own accord this season. And, well, he just needs to try and hold on for a little bit longer because our leaders, they're already making their way towards Murray's Bend. There's one more lap to go after this one, but here comes Logan McKinzie. But Tew puts himself just off centre towards the inside, and Tew there knowing he needs to hold on as that gets very close there from Logan McKinzie, almost swiping the rear bumper of Tew's car away. And here they come down towards turn number 23 again, and McKinzie looking one way, then the other. Tew goes very defensive. McKinzie goes to the switchback here. He's going to get momentum off the corner as they go on to the final lap of the season. And as they get ready for that break, it's over turn number 1. Well, Tio on the outside, he's in the right place to defend this. He'll have the better quarter exit. And what can Logan McKinzie do here? Can he force the move? He tries to, but Tio uses all the road here. Door to door they go. And in the end, Logan McKinzie gives him so much space there. You'd think they rebounded off each other, but not quite so. And as they power the way onwards right now, I don't think McKinzie smelt ready to use the Ocean either. I don't think he's having a bit of a reaction to it. If so, but as they head up towards turn number 2, E-Way right now, they're getting close once again. Who thought about the social distance in between these two? And McKinzie tries to go around the outside. Tio puts himself back on the inside there. It's now going to be about the power out the corner, and McKinzie understeers a bit too wide there. Tio now coming through. Oh, there's contact between the two of them. Just before they do get to the cutting edge, Tio is sent spinning on around and around. But in the end, Logan McKinzie immediately gets the brakes on. Can Tio carry on? I'm not quite sure, but he's going to try. And Logan McKinzie right now is going to stay behind him as long as he possibly can, so as not to gain the place. And Logan McKinzie being as fair as he possibly can. But I think Tio right now is struggling with the car, and McKinzie may take the place off him here. And coming out of quarry, and when indeed Tio in a car that is damaged brushes the outside wall, and well, McKinzie will sweep round the outside. He doesn't want to have to do it, and I get the feeling he'll be quite apologetic after the race is done. But meanwhile, after that, back to the front of the field we do go. There's battles happening everywhere right now. Franz Wojciech has just passed Damon Mitchell, and Zachary Leopold maybe past him, but we need to stay looking at our leaders right now for a brief moment as they come down Conrad, and the gap was 3 tenths next at Forest Elbow, but right now Michael Polasek simply holding clear. Wojciech Swirydowicz is trying to go for the fastest lap of the race, but he's made an absolute howler of what is Forest Elbow, and that's what's caused him to lose a lot of time. So as they come through the last couple of quarters here, through the chicane they go. And Michael Polasek has led this one from the start, and Wojciech Swirydowicz has always been a threat. But in the end, well, it's just showing you how close these two have been, because whilst Wojciech Swirydowicz is your champion-elect, Michael Polasek, the defending champion, he's not going to give up his crown without a win here to see out the season at Bathurst. Wojciech Swirydowicz is runner-up, but he remains your Season 17 champion overall in the Alpha Drivers' Championship and becoming a 2-time champion. But who is going to be third? Well, in the end, it is going to be this man of Logan McKinzie, albeit understandably, he won't want to take this third place the way he has done after that contact with Ray Tio, and I'm sure they'll talk about it after race what happened, but McKinzie will take the third place spot, at least on the road. The Pennzoil Super Touring driver just ahead of Ray Tio, spoiling a finish, what could have been a double podium there for Beaver D's, and then it will be Fleet Smith who taking the Gamma win. He is your Season 17 Gamma champion, and Matt Shepka kept him honest all the way to him to be Gamma runner-up here today. Mighty Almeida comes through to complete the Gamma podium with a contentious mount, we believe, for Damon Mitchell right towards the end. Franz Wojciech takes home 8th place ahead of Zachary Leopold and Damon Mitchell, who completes your top 10. And it'll be Cooper Akers who comes on through here for 11th place in a challenging race, but he's risen to the challenge all the way through. Major Bonswai will then be a second behind in 12th with Zachary Bowman coming through. But then this man, he was denied in Season 16, but he won't be denied here today. Tai Long wins in Delta, and he wins the Delta crown ahead of Carl Trost, who comes through. It's a 1-2 for T0 Racer Sent. They end the season on a perfect ending, and it will be Trost there taking that second place spot at Delta, ahead of Jason Lynn, who completes the Delta podium just ahead of Fred Al-Ridgey, who ran out of time to try and get back on the podium. Al-Ridgey will be your Delta runner-up this season with a heartbreaking end to the season. Mark Darnell will come on through for 5th in the Delta class for Gator Racing, 18th overall, and then it will be a little bit of time before we get our last two finishers, ladies and gentlemen, but give them all a round of applause. They see this one to the end, because here is Jaylin Kuo, and we're only able to take part in 2 rounds this season, in the start and right at the end. But to be fair, the 00 driver, even though he's only done 2 rounds, we're very happy to see him all the way through to the finish, and well, here he comes to the finish line to take 6th place in Delta, 19th overall, and get some points on the board right at the end. And we will see finish behind him Chris McDonald 20th, and he'll be your last lead that finisher. Also, huge shout out to this man, John Daniels, and whilst he finished 3 laps down, did finish the race. That's the spirit we love to see for John, even though it didn't quite work out over the distance day, and a lot of misfortune, no doubt about it, but he has still made sure to bring home some very valuable points for him and the team. But, ladies and gentlemen, with that, what we are going to do, we are going to take a look back at some of the big moments from right towards the end of the race, because there were some contentious moments, and then we're going to look at the results, and then we are going to try and find out what exactly happened on lap 25 between Chris McDonald and Damon Mitchell. So, as everyone cools and calms on down, we firstly take a look back at the Logan McKinzie Ray Tio incident. And this, of course, was in the run on the final lap in the battle for third place over on in Alpha up towards Griffin's Bend. And McKinzie trying to go round the outside versus Ray TU. And well, in doing so, he set up a battle going in towards the cutting. But as they left turn 2, then it was in towards turn number 3. And as McKinzie came across, it did look as though TU came across a little bit towards it as well. Both drivers going for the middle of the road there. And I think that might be, as we like to say, 6 of one and half a dozen of the other. Or in other words, it's a 50-50 between both drivers. I think they both wanted the middle of the road space. And in the end, both of them will look back at that one afterwards and say, well, we both converged on the line. And to be fair to McKinzie, he did not want to take the place until he saw that Ray was struggling to drive the car around the circuit. At that point, for safety reasons, he did make the overtake there. And albeit he had to do it in a dangerous spot coming in towards turn number 8. But TU making sure to hold a tight line. And well, both drivers there showing their veterancy in the series and the fact that they really did respect each other even after the contact. So, understanding they'll talk about it afterwards. But by looks of things, that may have been a bit of a 50-50 instant between both drivers. We also did have this for Franz Wojciech versus Damon Mitchell going for a move on the final lap, going around what was the cutting. And in the end, Damon Mitchell going very deep and hitting the barrier there, picking up significant damage right at the end. And that was going to be Shink going around the outside. Did we see Zachary Leopold go for it as well? He tried. My good Lord, Zach. That is dangerous to try and go for it there. I mean, he's flashing his headlights, but I think the Damon was probably saying under his helmet, where do you want me to go, Zach? You can't exactly pass there. Zachary Leopold thought he could, and to be fair, they had to try and find a move a bit later on. He did get it in the end. And it was here that he made it happen. And it was coming down from Skyline in towards the Dipper, whereby David Mitchell, I believe, going a little bit deep into the corner. And in the end, whereas he came out, brushed the wall again. I'm not sure there was contact there between the two of them. But Zachary Leopold bolting his way past Damon Mitchell for what would be that 4th place in the Gamma class when all was said and done. Now, we did have that. Were there any other moments before the end of the race? We do not believe so. Although, we also did see, of course, also great racing earlier on in the race, and we will get a replay of that 25 in due course. So let's head back to your live pictures firstly, ladies and gentlemen. And as we do come back, all the drivers calling on down here as much as possible. The T0 racing drivers, they're all queuing up together. But we do look to the scenic view to take a look at those provisional results. And as we can see, as we do have a driver driving off into the sunset there, it's been an absolutely phenomenal race to wrap up the season. But in the end, only one driver can win round 12 of 12 in Season 17 of the Alpha Touring Challenge, powered by Syncmesh and Glass of Steel Photography and Design, and brought to you, of course, on the Premier Sim Racing platform available on PC, known as iRacing. And the winner today, Michael Polasek. A win which, with it, does not quite seem seal, as we understand it, 2nd place in the championship. Logan McKinzie will still take it with that 3rd place, although it will be subject to any final steward inquiries. Of course, all of our statements are provisional until those final results are published. We won't be able to show you those on the broadcast. They are still being looked into because there are several incidents that are being investigated over the next 24 hours. But Michael Polasek extends his record of the most decorated overall winner, and well, the Yellow Flag Motorsport driver, they're taking that win by 4 tenths a second versus your Season 17 provisional champion, your champion-elect coming into this round, Wojciech Swirydowicz, now a 2-time champion. Still many to go behind the 5-time champion of Michael Polasek, and of course the 6-time champion of Logan McKinzie, who then took that 3rd place in the end under what was a bit of contact with him and his Beaver and D's rival of Ray TU, but the Pennzoil Super Touring driver bringing home that 3rd, 1.3 seconds ahead of Ray TU. Fleet Smith taking home 5th place in the end, and your Gamma winner for B4Ds, and becoming your Season 17 and our 2nd ever Gamma champion. And well, what a way to do it today. But he did have a scare, of course, in that 2nd pit stop, and the scare that came out from nowhere was Matt Shepka, the senior driver, who in there saved brilliantly on fuel in the 2nd stint, and in doing so brought himself out on a level playing field versus Fleet Smith, but Smith in the end had the pace to keep him at bay. It was 7 tenths at line there that senior driver missed out on his maiden win of the season. But to be fair to Shepka, it will come. And well, I get the feeling going into Season 18, he will definitely be one of the favourites for the Gamma crown. Mike De Almeida completed the top 3 in Gamma. Well done to Mike for being back on the podium there for Yellow Flag Motorsport. It's been a little bit of time since we've seen him up there, but he definitely kept his head down and got on with the racing today, and finishing ahead of his fellow Canadian by 4 seconds of Franz Wojciech for Sia, who took 8th place. Zachary Leopold was 9th there for Pennzoil Super Touring, just ahead of Damon Mitchell for Croc Promotions, after what was an incident with the barriers at the cutting right at the end for Damon Mitchell. And then Cooper Akers best the rest in 11th place there for Pennzoil Super Touring, 13 seconds behind, but 2 tenths ahead of Major Monservice right at the finish line. The T0 Racing Summit drive was followed up by another Gamma drive in the form of Zachary Bowman. Had a bit of a frustrating end to his season for YFM, and then Tyler Long with the win in the Delta class and 14th overall, guaranteeing that he is your Season 17 Delta Champion. A huge congratulations to the T0 Race Ascent driver and making it happen at the second time of trying after the heartbreaking ending to what was Season 16, but Long seeing it through to completion this time. Carl Trost coming on through to complete a 1-2 behind his teammate of Long in the Delta class, and well, what a huge result there. And could Carl Trost follow in the footsteps of Ty Long in Season 18? We will have to wait and see. Jason in completing the Delta podium there for Gator Racing, just fend off Swirydowicz originally, and the SRG drive through everything at this race, but one mistake and a brush with the barrier at turn number 9 early on the race completely upset what was Swirydowicz' opportunity to steal away the crown from Tyler Long. It was a far opportunity, to be fair to him, but he was going for it, and the SRG driver in the end had to settle for second in the championship this season. Mark Donnell completed the Delta top 5 there in 18th place overall for Gator Racing, ending on a strong result, with Jalen Coe returning to the grid for Penguin Mafia, and in the end finishing in 19th place. Chris McDonald, with a bit of late misfortune for Crop Promotions, coming home in 20th. He did finish the race on the lead lap, as we understand it. And then looking further down the field there, we did see finish 3 laps down. John Daniels under his own steam for T0 Racing Summit. Sadly, it was a late retirement for UMAT Motorsports' Jeremy Barber. And we also did have, of course, what was retirements early on for Evan Clavio, Micah Hendricks, and Corey Lobner. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, well, that completes our rundown of the provisional finishing positions from round 12 of 12 here at Bathurst. But just before we do get ready to wrap up today's broadcast, we have the question mark of what exactly happened with regards to lap 25. So bear with us. We'll be right back to find out what happened to Chris McDonald. And well, ladies and gentlemen, as we do come back, well, here we can see the aftermath for Chris McDonald. The car going very slowly, and we're into the barrier there. So he's had a bit of an impact with the barrier, no doubt about it. And we are just going to try and get a little bit of earlier footage to explain what happened, but he definitely had to tow there. So again, we caught that, but not much more. Can we get a little bit earlier on? We may be able to, albeit we are going to have to go back a lap or two for that. So bear with us. We will try and go back in time once again. And well, here we come back, ladies and gentlemen. We have the footage now, and this is what happened to Chris McDonald. So making his way in towards Griffin's Bend, and as he did so, lost the rear of the car. It went straight on to the pedigree barrier, and unfortunately, making his way out of the race. And well, we wondered what happened, whether there'd been contact with Damon Mitchell. We didn't want to say they had until we saw it, but there was the contact with the barrier, and Chris McDonald's race lying in pieces. With an opportunity to take third place in Gamma, it wasn't to be. But with that, that fills in all the pictures and all the questions we've had here at Bathurst, and therefore let's now wrap up today's broadcast. Thank you very much for watching, and if you have enjoyed today's show, and perhaps you're sat there right now wanting to know more about the Alpha Touring Challenge, well, of course, our official website is the #1 place to go to for all things Alpha Touring Challenge, whether you're looking to be on the grid, understand the history, or anything in between. And that is at alphatouringchallenge.com. Our website appears on screen now. It's a very easy to navigate website, and indeed, you've got a smooth package there. Indeed, all the information is available in only a couple of clicks. We've got all of our news articles, all of our Hall of Famers, all of our previous champions, all listed on the homepage. But you've got access to all the information you need for the current season, previous season, all of our broadcasts, you name it, it is here. And also there is a link on our website to our official Discord, the beating heart of the Alpha Touring Challenge community. And well, If you'd like to be on the grid or just get to know fellow touring car racing enthusiasts, do join the official Alpha Touring Challenge Discord. You won't be disappointed. Albeit, if you do join, of course, make sure you prove you're not a bot, because otherwise we may be missing out on some very valuable MacBooks, as the community likes to say. Indeed, we do seem to be seeing a bit of a scam bot wave at the moment across Discord communities, and at ATC we're doing everything we can to make sure you're safe when you interact with our community. But of course, ladies and gentlemen, as we do look ahead to completing today's season, we must give a big thank you to our series partners, who we'd not be without. Syncmesh being one of them, and born out of the pursuit of one man's search for better gear for sim racing, Syncmesh is the company which provides purpose-built gear for sim racing, ranging from gloves through to a full line of performance wear. And with an obsessive attention to detail in their gear, which aligns with your attention to detail in remaining lap after lap on the simulator, you could not ask for better gear to make your racing experience better. And if you'd like to know more, do head to sync-mesh.com today to find out all you need to know about getting some of the very best gear you can have for sim racing. We'd also like to say a big thank you to Glass and Steel Photography and Design. And the Alpha Touring Challenge's official photographer, Jason Lynn, is a highly talented and approachable individual who provides both photography and livery design services for the iRacing simulator platform as part of Glass and Steel Photography and Design. But do not just take our word for it. With 5-star reviews from his clientele citing him as easy to work with, detail-orientated, and a very fast responder, if you are looking for pixel-precise photography or a livery design to dominate the competition, then why not head to his website at glassnsteel1.wordpress.com today. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, well, sadly, that completes Season 17. But fret not, we will be back, and we will see you in Season 18, which starts on Monday, the 14th of September, 2026. Save the date in your diaries. It is going to be another 12 rounds of incredible racing that see us through to Christmas of 2026. And after Season 17, we could not have asked for a better season and to move ourselves forward in our 5th year of racing. In fact, our 6th year of racing here at the Alpha Touring Challenge. Let me get myself corrected there. With Season 16 being our 5-year anniversary celebration, we are getting very much into our 6th year, and well, Season 17 has been incredible. Indeed, something to say about Season 17 is the fact that we have set all of the strength of field records for this season with some of the strongest fields in terms of the drivers who have been out there that we have ever seen. Of course, we say a huge thank you to every driver who's turned up, whether it's only for a couple of rounds or for the whole season. You've all been absolute superstars, and we must give a huge thank you as well to the administration team of the Alpha Touring Challenge of Matt Shepka, Evan Clavio, John Lauzon, Mike Hendricks, Carl Trost, and Damon Mitchell for all their hard work behind the scenes, and also to our super duper admin and our head Chief of Staff, none other than Logan McKinzie. Also, big congratulations to our champions. To reiterate, provisionally, they are in the overall Alpha Drivers Championship. Wojciech Swirydowicz taking his 2nd ever title. Congratulations to Wojciech. Also, big congratulations to Fleet Smith for becoming the 2nd ever Gamma champion. Expect him to be in Alpha for Season 18. Looking to go one step further. And a huge round of applause for Tyler Long, finally taking that Delta crown. And we will see him move up to Gamma for next season. And also, of course, our team's champions. And just to reiterate who they are briefly, Beaver and D's taking the overall teams championship, and in the Delta teams championship, none other than T0 Racing Ascent. But Season 18 will see everything reset. It'll be a clean slate once again, and we'll get to see our drivers do touring car battling like nobody's other business. And of course, ladies and gentlemen, I'm very pleased to announce that when we do get underway on Monday the 14th of September 2026, I'll be back providing all the post-round broadcasts as if they were live 24 hours after the event. Indeed, I cannot wait to be back behind the commentary microphone once again, because Season 17 has been absolutely incredible, and a huge thank you to the ATC for placing their trust in me and bringing these broadcasts. It has been an absolute blast, and I cannot wait to be back in the booth once more. But with that, this has been Season 17. If you've enjoyed it, make sure you stay subscribed to the Paul's Productions YouTube channel, so that way you can stay up to date with all the latest broadcasts from Season 18 when it comes about. We will see you in September, ladies and gentlemen. Save that date, Monday the 14th of September. That's when we do get underway. But until then, this has been Season 17 of the Alpha Touring Challenge. We have been the ATC. I've been your host and commentator, Paul Walsh. This has been a Paul Walsh production. And until next time, remember to stay safe, stay well, stay smiling, and most importantly, ladies and gentlemen, as always, remember to stay on track. Good night.